Chapter 636. With regards to the threat of death, Muyu had already heard it 1,000 times. He had always had the attitude that everyone was doing well when dealing with people, but because of various helpless reasons, he had always attracted a fatal disaster. What a hateful guy! Muyu was extremely annoyed with the people from the Gate of Hell. When they met, it was as if Muyu had killed their parents, as if they had an irreconcilable enmity. If they weren't holding ghost banners, ghost scythes, they were holding ghost axes, and then they would find a bunch of Japanese people to help them. It was simply too tiresome. While he was thinking, a gloomy, ghostly aura arrived. Countless tree branches suddenly appeared under Muyu's feet. Pure death aura welcomed the ghostly aura and sucked away all the ghostly aura. When fighting with the people from the Gate of Hell, the mutated Mu Ling was Muyu's strongest reliance. Gue Zhenming's attack didn't hit, but he didn't rashly attack again. There were already many people from the Gate of Hell who had died at the hands of Muyu. His attack was just a test to prove that Muyu really had the ability to restrain the Gate of Hell's techniques. So Gue Han was right. Against you, I really can't use ordinary methods. Gue Zhenming coldly looked at the tree branches surrounding Muyu. Those tree branches were even more terrifying than the ghostly aura on his body. The spiritual energy of the people from the Gate of Hell was different from that of ordinary self-cultivators. Their spiritual energy was mixed with ghostly aura. It might be useful against other self-cultivators, but it wouldn't work against Muyu. Back then, Gue Han and the others had stripped off the ghostly aura on their bodies and used the most primitive spiritual energy to trap Muyu. Using the primitive spiritual energy of the body fusion stage to deal with Mu Ling, they wouldn't encounter the problem of being restrained. If you want to fight, then fight. Why so much nonsense? Muyu said simply. No matter how powerful Gue Zhenming was, he was only one person. When Gue Han had trapped Muyu, he had brought 4 or 5 body fusion stage people from the Gate of Hell. Ghosts cherish their lives. Even if they had so many twins, it would be useless. Because twins were souls, they would be suppressed by Mu Ling. The tree branches swayed in the air, wrapping around Gue Shi from different angles. The formation patterns flickered, and awe-inspiring sword Qi surged out from the tree branches. But Gue Ziming only sneered. The soul armament given to him by the Gue Yezi began to glow with a white light that enveloped Gue Ziming and his twins. The soul power emitted by the Demon Island's soul tools would not be restrained by Mu Ling. Rip! All of the tree branches were instantly destroyed by Gue Piming. The ghostly aura he emitted was actually mixed with a steady white soul force. This soul force allowed him to face the tree branches without any fear. Damn it! It's soul power. Muyu looked at the black and white twins and frowned. His sword Qi surged, but was blocked by Gue Ziming's long axe. He had no choice but to keep dodging. However, Gue Ziming, who had nothing to worry about, was still a body fusion stage cultivator. His speed was too fast. Muyu relied on the Big Dipper constellation formation to barely dodge the opponent's attacks. If he did not have Mu Ling and his formation skills, he would have been defeated long ago. Little handsome, long tongue, come out and work. Muyu shouted and pulled back his shadow clone sword from the void. Got it. 5 thunders to serve them. Little Handsome's mysterious thunderfall. Little Handsome had already jumped out. The wind heart linking formation spread out under Muyu's feet and enveloped Little Handsome. Little Handsome put one hand on his waist and pointed to the sky. A blue thunder soared from his small hand and illuminated the whole sky. Lightning flashed in between. What was originally a vast expanse of white fog suddenly condensed into a thundercloud. Tyrannical electric sparks rolled and crackled with Little Commander's thunder sword as the center. All the hair on Little Handsome's body stood up, but the chi on his body was getting stronger and stronger. Wind, dragon, vine, howling sky. Long Tongue also turned into a ray of light from Muyu's hand and flashed out. Its body instantly swelled several times, like a proud sword, faintly rippling in the air. Tyrannical sword chi circulated around Long Tongue's body. Long Tang's chi was getting stronger and stronger. Then a breath shot out. That terrifying breath turned into sharp swords in the air and surrounded Little Handsome's blue thunder sword. In an instant, Little Handsome's blue thunder sword was cut into 5 pieces. At this moment, Muyu's formation patterns also started to surge, enveloping the 5 pieces of thunder sword intent. Gue Ziming's heart jumped. He actually smelled the scent of danger. But at the same time, he was convinced that he was being overly suspicious. Although thunder was also the nemesis of Ghost Chi, he was not an ordinary person from the Gate of Hell. How could a person with 6 twins be so simple? Each of the twins wielded their own ghostly artifacts and surrounded Muyu from different directions. At this moment, the 5 pieces of Thunder Sword intent had already been compressed by Muyu into 5 blue pearls. Surging thunder and lightning filled the air. A destructive chi was leaping. Muyu's shadow clone sword flicked towards one of the blue thunder pearls. The sword tip was like a fuse, detonating the compressed thunder and lightning. That thunder and lightning was like a volcanic eruption. After being suppressed for a long time, it was finally released. The powerful thunder and lightning power exploded. The shadow clone's sword shone brightly, directing all the explosive thunder and lightning power towards the twins that were pouncing towards Muyu. Thunder and lightning symbolized the righteousness of the world. It was used to punish evil beings. The tyrannical thunder and lightning instantly transformed into countless sword shapes. Each sword shape was like a thunder snake that was leaping nonstop, welcoming the twins. Retreat. Gue Ziming's complexion slightly changed. He didn't expect Muyu, a severed soul stage cultivator, to be able to display the power of thunder and lightning to this extent. Just by relying on the earth-shattering thunder sword, his twins wouldn't be able to withstand it no matter how strong they were. All the twins in a split second turned into a shadow and merged into Gue Ziming's body. The blood-colored long axe in Gue Ziming's hand flew out. Dense soul power covered the blood-colored long axe and forcibly received all the thunder and lightning power. Gue Ziming pulled back and gloomily looked at Muyu from afar. From time to time, electric sparks would flow all over his body. But in the blink of an eye, they were extinguished by him. He didn't expect that he, a dignified body fusion stage cultivator, would actually feel threatened by a severed soul stage cultivator. This is just 1 thunder pearl, and you can't stand it? There are still 4 thunder pearls circulating around Muyu. At the beginning, using 5 thunders put a lot of burden on Muyu. But after practicing a few times, he already understood how to master this self-created technique. Because Xiao Shuai's skin was thick, he deliberately transferred all the thunder and lightning pressure to Xiao Shuai. It could be said that the core of this technique was Xiao Shuai and not him. Gue Ziming's complexion was gloomy. Muyu used all kinds of strange techniques to restrain people from the Gate of Hell. This thunder and lightning power was too overbearing. Even with the support of soul power, he didn't dare to injure his twins. Thinking about the use of his twins, Gue Ziming frowned. It wasn't a coincidence that he had 6 twins. The use of these 6 twins wasn't just to assist him in battle. Maybe Gue Ziming wouldn't lose to Muyu, but he would also consume a lot of energy. The purpose of this trip was not only to kill Muyu, but also to... Gue Ziming turned to look at the distant Sea Demon King's palace, shrouded in white fog. Above the palace, there was a simple and profound seal exuding a tyrannical aura that surrounded the entire palace. The Sea Demon King's palace was as silent as a crouching tiger, but it contained a huge momentum and supreme majesty. But at this time, the entire Demon Island suddenly erupted with a burst of alarm, which meant that someone had come to the Demon Island. It's Xiao Shui. Muyu instantly thought of this. Monster race people coming to the Demon Island wouldn't trigger the alarm. And the only person who came to the Demon Island besides Muyu and the people from the Gate of Hell was Xiao Shui. Muyu was somewhat worried. He didn't know where Xiao Shui came from. If she came to the island from the monster race's side, Xiao Shui would certainly be fine. But if she came to the island from a human race's side, then it would be very difficult to say. Gue Ziming also had some doubts, but he didn't care who came to the demon island. His silhouette flashed as he rushed towards Muyu once more. He still decided to kill Muyu first. If not, things would be extremely troublesome later. But this time, he didn't use his twins. Instead, he directly approached Muyu. At the same time, Gue Ziming's soul tool swept out a tyrannical soul power. The soul power turned into a white ghost banner, and countless resentful souls rushed over with bared fangs and brandished claws. Muyu looked at those resentful souls that came out of the soul tool in surprise. He suddenly understood that although Gue Ziming was dead, those resentful souls he refined before his death were still imprisoned in his soul tool. At this moment, these resentful souls were contaminated with the soul power of the demon island, so they were not afraid of Mu Ling at all. You've done a lot of evil. Let me help you. Muyu still had 4 thunder pearls left in his hand, and one of them exploded again. Violent thunder and lightning intertwined in the air, and under the control of his array patterns, it turned into a net of thunder and lightning, trapping all the resentful spirits. The thunder and lightning net rapidly shrank, and all the resentful souls that came in contact with the thunder and lightning screamed miserably. The sound was very harsh, like the sound of fingernails scratching a porcelain bowl, making people feel uncomfortable. However, Gue Ziming had already rushed forward, crossing Muyu's thunder and lightning net. His palm was filled with tyrannical spiritual power, and it was about to hit Muyu's head. Muyu didn't have time to dodge, so he could only stretch out his hand, and his palm was filled with thunder and lightning, forcibly resisting Gue Ziming's attack. He only felt that his arm was hit by a huge mountain, and even his bones were cracked. His whole body flew upside down. When Gue Ziming's second palm came crashing down, Muyu clenched his teeth, and the shadow sword in his hand blasted out with the third thunder bead, meeting Gue Ziming's palm. Although Gue Ziming was very afraid of these thunder and lightning, he still braved the danger of being attacked by the thunder and lightning, and hit the shadow sword. The shadow sword couldn't break Gue Ziming's palm power, and after it guided the thunder and lightning to Gue Ziming's hand, it was already sent flying. It streaked across the air, and then stabbed into the chest of the cultivator statue, standing on top of the stone pillar outside the palace. Buzz! With a violent, loud sound, the stone pillar that was stabbed by the shadow sword suddenly trembled, and then all the stone pillars lit up with a dazzling white light. Each stone pillar intertwined with each other, and the runes quickly flowed. The thick and solid stone pillars actually began to move on the ground, and from the ground, countless stone pillars also protruded out and began to arrange themselves in a wonderful position. Counting carefully, there were actually a total of 981 stone pillars. The 81 stone pillars surrounded Gue Ziming and Muyu, and they quickly moved, forming a maze, separating Gue Ziming and Muyu. Muyu seized the opportunity and ran towards the Sea Demon King's palace. But before he could run 2 steps, the stone pillars in front of him moved away one after another. In order to avoid the stone pillars, he could only take a detour, but when he stopped, he discovered that after he took a detour, he was actually getting further and further away from the Sea Demon King's palace. What a powerful maze! Muyu dodged the stone pillars that moved around him from time to time, and in the process of dodging, he could sometimes see Gue Ziming's figure. Gue Ziming attempted to directly smash these stone pillars, but when their spiritual energy hit the stone pillars, it disappeared like a stone sinking into the sea. Chapter 637. The stone pillars quickly moved around them, forcibly changing their position. Muyu wanted to rush towards the Sea Demon King's palace several times, but because of the sudden movement of the stone pillars, he had no choice but to change his position. After dodging several times, he and Gue Ziming were actually out of the range of the stone pillars. The huge Sea Demon King's palace was guarded by the thick and solid stone pillars. If they wanted to reach the Sea Demon King's palace, they had to find a way to pass through these moving stone pillars. Just when Muyu was thinking about how to pass through this stone pillar array, Gue Ziming, who was beside him, brandished his blood-colored long axe and chopped towards him. Because they were all out of the stone pillar array, there were no more obstacles in the surroundings. Fuck, this guy is not thinking of a way to break through the array. He is thinking of killing me. Is he retarded? The Big Dipper constellation array carried Muyu to avoid Gue Shiming's attack. Muyu had no choice but to jump. But when he flew high up in the sky, all the scenery disappeared. There was only a vast expanse of white fog. Without any direction, he couldn't see the Sea Demon King's palace, and also couldn't see the stone pillar array under his feet. Helpless, he could only jump down. Muyu wanted to teleport to the top of the stone pillars. But the stone pillars released a powerful repulsive force, separating him. He had no choice but to fall into the stone pillar array again. Muyu teleported towards the Sea Demon King's palace, but he found that the spiritual energy here was very strange. It was like a sticky paste that interrupted his teleportation. He couldn't even break the void. Gue Shiming was still looking for an opportunity to get close to Muyu in the stone pillar array. He still didn't give up on killing Muyu. But at this moment, Muyu wasn't very worried, because the two of them were seriously restricted by this fast-moving stone pillar array. In contrast, if Muyu fought with Gue Shiming outside the stone pillar array, it would be difficult for Gue Shiming to take advantage of him. However, if they were in the stone pillar array, both of them had to avoid the moving stone pillar array, so it would be difficult for Gue Shiming to attack him. The stone pillar formation moved very quickly. Every time it moved, it was to block the intruders outside. The stone pillars in all directions led the two people in different directions. From time to time, the two of them would be moved together. Then, Gue Pei Ming would throw a long axe over. However, before the long axe could reach Muyu, they would be separated again. Since that's the case, I'll just hitch a ride. Muyu tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and aimed at the oncoming stone pillar. The formation pattern beneath his feet emitted a suction force as he stood firmly on the side of the stone pillar. His entire body began to move along with the stone pillar. He originally intended to use this method to figure out a way to break the array. However, the stone pillar once again brought him to the edge of the stone pillar array. Then, Gue Shiming was also circled out. The two of them met face to face. Gue Shiming once again waved the blood-red long axe towards Muyu. Muyu cursed Gue Shiming's 18 generations of ancestors and then went back into the stone pillar array. This won't do. I have to deduce the rules of this stone pillar array. Muyu dodged the rapidly passing stone pillars from time to time. At the same time, he began to deduce the movement of the entire stone pillar array in his mind. This was just like when Muyu first climbed the stairway to heaven. He used his powerful deduction ability to discover the rules of the stairway to heaven. He only used 8 steps to climb the stairway. At that time, the entire stairway to heaven was in his mind. However, this stone pillar formation was different from the heaven stairway. This was because the heaven stairway moved very slowly and wouldn't deliberately send people out. However, this stone pillar formation would send people out if they weren't careful. If they didn't react in time, they would be hit by the rapidly moving stone pillars. Taoist master Xian Jizi set up such a stone pillar array outside the Sea Demon King's palace to test outsiders. It did not have any offensive power, but it had a very strong deceptive power. Even crossing Calamity stage, people might not be able to get any benefits from it, let alone them. This was Taoist master Xian Jizi's resting place. His inheritance was here. Therefore, most of his inheritance was expressed in the form of array techniques. Fortunately, Muyu's array techniques had reached a very high level. Therefore, he quickly calmed down and began to ponder how to break this array. The stone pillars moved very quickly. Each stone pillar looked similar. If he wanted to determine the movement of the stone pillars, he first had to figure out the position of each stone pillar. Array patterns appeared in Muyu's hand. When the stone pillar in front of him attacked, the array patterns in his hand had already been imprinted on it and stuck to the stone pillar. The stone pillar quickly disappeared in another place. However, Muyu could clearly sense the stone pillar that he had just marked. However, the range of his perception was limited. It was only about 10 meters. In this array, their senses were severely restricted. It moved from the southeast to the northeast, and then to the northwest. Then it went out of range. I can't calculate it like this. Muyu silently calculated the direction of the stone pillar's movement. However, he found that it was very difficult to find any pattern with just one stone pillar. Therefore, he reached out his hand and imprinted his array patterns on the other stone pillars. The marked array patterns were intertwined. Although the stone pillars would circle around Muyu every time, there must be a correct path that led to the Siren Palace. However, these stone pillars moved too frequently. It was quite troublesome for Muyu to simulate the path. Not all the stone pillars would move to Muyu's side at the right time. Muyu circled around the stone pillar array for 2 hours. There were many stone pillars that were repeated. There were more than half of the stone pillars that he had not marked. However, after marking so many stone pillars, Muyu had figured out a certain pattern. Although I can't remember all the stone pillars, I now know how to avoid the stone pillars that want to circle around me. Muyu thought for a long time. He felt that he needed to mark at least 2 more stone pillars. Most of the stone pillars that moved to Muyu's front were marked. However, there were 2 stone pillars that kept circling around him that did not approach him. He had been looking for these 2 stone pillars. As long as he could deduce the trajectory of these 2 stone pillars, he would be able to find the correct path. Muyu seized an opportunity. The tip of his foot tapped on the stone pillar that came from the side. His entire body moved horizontally. Immediately, another stone pillar flashed in front of him. This stone pillar seemed to be deliberately avoiding Muyu. However, Muyu had already targeted it. He would not give up. Very quickly, a stone pillar entered his perception range. He knew that a stone pillar would come from the southeast direction in a moment. Therefore, his body paused for a moment. He straightened his body. As expected, that stone pillar that was marked just now brushed past his nose. Meanwhile, Muyu had already leaped towards that stone pillar that was not marked yet. Let's see where you can run to this time. Muyu's hand glowed with array patterns. He imprinted it on the stone pillar. However, at this moment, Gue Piming just happened to circle around to Muyu's side. This fellow's gaze froze. He discovered the method that Muyu used to break the stone pillar array. This brat indeed has some skills. Gue Piming thoughtfully nodded his head. He also imitated Muyu and started to mark the stone pillars. Ghost Chi imprinted on the stone pillars. Although he could no longer see Muyu's figure in the blink of an eye, he understood that he should be able to deduce the method to break through. However, Gue Piming had overestimated his ability to deduce. Just like Muyu, those marked stone pillars also started to appear in his mind. However, he quickly frowned, because these trajectories to him were like graffiti. Moreover, the stone pillars would occasionally exceed his perception range. He did not know where the stone pillars would pop out in front of him. These trajectories were simply messy. There was no clue to speak of. Even if he knew where the stone pillars came from, there were many times when the path forward would be blocked. Even if he wanted to avoid the stone pillars, it was impossible. Damn it, these trajectories are so messy. How can I find the pattern? Gue Piming frowned. He was not that kind of array genius like Muyu. In terms of deduction, he was far from Muyu. From Muyu's point of view, all the crisscrossing stone pillars had a pattern. However, from Gue Piming's point of view, these trajectories were like a pile of hemp rope. He was completely unable to make sense of it. Not long after, Gue Piming was once again circled out of the stone pillar array. But this time, he was surprised to find that Muyu was actually outside the stone pillar array. He was squatting on the ground and using his spirit power to carve something. So it's like this, I understand now. Muyu's face revealed a relieved smile. He tilted his head and saw Gue Piming was sinisterly staring at him. It seemed that he had been staring at him for a long time. However, what made Muyu puzzled was that this time Gue Piming did not directly kill him. Brat, have you discovered the pattern of how to break the array? Gue Piming coldly asked. Goodbye, little devil. Xiao Shui, who was on Muyu's shoulder, laughed with his hands on his waist. Obviously, seeing Gue Piming's expression, wanting to break through this moving stone pillar array was probably impossible. Muyu indifferently spread out his hands. He was too lazy to answer Gue Pimming's question. His body leaped and once again rushed into the stone pillar array. This time, he already had full confidence. The movement of the stone pillars did indeed have a pattern. According to Mu Yu's calculation, there were a total of 81 stone pillars. Every 9 stone pillars formed a cluster. It was specially used to circle out the intruder. Different clusters had different functions. Furthermore, it could interact with the intruder's way of moving and change the way of movement. Therefore, when breaking through the array, just relying on the perception of the array pattern to dodge was not enough. This was because the movement of these stone pillars was constantly changing. Even if you knew where the stone pillars were moving from, many times there would be many unexpected stone pillars appearing at the same time. This made people completely helpless. However, through Mu Yu's perception of the stone pillars within 10 meters, in addition to the movement of other stone pillars that exceeded the range, he could use the current changes of the stone pillars to calculate those unexpected stone pillars and then find the most suitable path. Gue Pimming gloomily looked at Mu Yu. The corner of his mouth curved into a sinister smile. He also followed Mu Yu's footsteps and flashed into the stone pillar array. This place was different from Mu Yu's land of opportunity. Although Mu Yu's land of opportunity was like a maze, there were no obstacles in the way. Furthermore, he was only slightly slower than Mu Yu by a beat. Even if he could sense Mu Yu's aura when he wanted to follow over, countless stone pillars had already moved in front of him. Chapter 638. Gue Shiming was actually only 10 meters away from Mu Yu, but the existence of the stone pillars made these 10 meters as insurmountable as a heavenly moat, which made Gue Shiming angry. Mu Yu did not run very fast in front. He relied on his perception of the stone pillars to know how to avoid being bypassed by the extra stone pillars. At the same time, when he encountered an unmarked stone pillar, he would mark it. This way, he could prevent any unexpected situations. Sometimes he would also encounter those stone pillars that were specially designed to obstruct him, blocking his path. Therefore, he could only retreat and rely on the marked array patterns to deduce a new route. As long as Mu Yu was given a little more time, he could actually break through this moving stone pillar array. Even if Gue Shiming was a few meters away from him, it would still be too far away to reach him. If I can't pass, don't even think about passing. Gue Shiming's hand was placed on the stone pillar behind him. In an instant, he discovered the array patterns left behind by Mu Yu on the stone pillar. The ghost chi in his hand trembled. Crash! The array patterns left behind by Mu Yu on the stone pillars were instantly erased by him. His figure flashed quickly. In just a few breaths, those stone pillars that were originally marked by Mu Yu were all erased by him. Mu Yu was originally deducing the path in front of him. Seeing that he was about to break through, he suddenly discovered that something was wrong. Because the stone pillars in front of him were beyond his expectations, he did not react. At the same time, more and more stone pillars came rushing over. These stone pillars were actually not marked. Why are there so many stone pillars that are not marked? Mu Yu was very puzzled. These markings were used by him for reference. Once the array pattern markings disappeared, the reference objects he needed to break through the array would also disappear. At a certain time, there were suddenly no stone pillars with array pattern markings in the surroundings. At that moment, he could not deduce the next path according to the path of the stone pillars. It was as if he had lost his sense of direction. He no longer knew where was the way forward. While Mu Yu was in a daze, a stone pillar had already hit him. Then, before he could react, the stone pillar had already circled him out of the array. Gue Shiming had been waiting outside the array for a long time. In Mu Yu's mind, there were only 3 stone pillars with markings on them. The other markings had already disappeared. It's you. Mu Yu frowned. He had already guessed that Gue Shiming must have erased the array pattern markings that he had used as a reference. Gue Pimming coldly laughed. Brat, I don't plan to kill you for the time being. Let's make a deal. Do you want me to bring you through the array? Mu Yu was a little annoyed in his heart. It was not easy for him to calculate half of it, but in the end, the draft paper was torn by that bastard Gue Pimming, making all his previous efforts go to waste. That's right. Bring me through this stone pillar array, and I'll spare you. Gui Piming laughed sinisterly. What if I don't agree? Muyu asked in a deep voice. Then I don't think you'll be able to break through this stone pillar array in your lifetime. Gui Piming stretched out his hand, and countless array pattern fragments scattered out from his palm. Gui Piming's idea was very clear. If Muyu did not bring him through, he would directly erase Muyu's array pattern. At worst, they would perish together. F*CK. You Japanese bastard, you're really shameless. Xiao Shuai cursed. Gui Piming did not have the ability to break through the array, and yet he did not let others break through the array. Truly shameless. Muyu was also annoyed by Gui Piming's way of doing things. This bastard actually made a plan to perish together with him. He already knew how to calculate the route to break through the array, but Gui Piming was obstructing him from the inside. This was just like Muyu doing a difficult problem and writing down the formula. But the ghost was afraid of his life and erased the formula. Muyu looked at the distant Sea Demon King's palace. He could see the appearance of the Sea Demon King's palace from outside the stone pillar array. Inside the Sea Demon King's palace was the inheritance left behind by Taoist Master Xianjizi. As long as he could obtain his inheritance, he could enter the subduing demon pagoda and find a way to leave this demon island. Muyu could also choose not to go in. That way, he would waste his time with Gui Piming. But this way, Gui Piming would be at a disadvantage, because Gui Piming would certainly think of a way to kill Muyu. Although Muyu might not be killed by Gui Piming, but it was also impossible for him to defeat Gui Piming. He could only keep running here and there, annoying him to death. If I bring you in, you'll turn hostile in the blink of an eye, right? Muyu said. Gui Piming rubbed his chin and playfully said, This will depend on your fortune, isn't it? To be honest, Muyu really wanted to enter the Sea Demon King's palace. His purpose here was to find a way to repair Deadwood Daddy's soul. Taoist Master Xianjizi had a powerful, all laws return to origin domain. Perhaps this domain could repair Deadwood Daddy's soul to some extent. Gui Piming had 6 unusual twins in his body, and these 6 twins all had their own consciousness, which was abnormal in itself. Coupled with the abnormal behavior of the people from the Gate of Hell, Muyu could also be sure that the people from the Gate of Hell came to the Demon Island for the inheritance of Taoist Master Xianjizi. Muyu was still thinking about whether he should agree to Gui Piming's request, but Xiao Shuai was on the side saying all kinds of unpleasant things, including that the Japanese didn't bring toilet paper when going to the toilet, biting into half an apple, and so on. In any case, Xiao Shuai didn't agree 10,000 times. Cooperating with the Japanese is too degrading, and this is not cooperation at all, but a threat. The Japanese are not only flat-chested, but also shameless. Xiao Shuai hated the people from the Gate of Hell. He's a man, Muyu reminded in a low voice. All right, then I'm sure the Japanese are all flat-chested women, and the men are short. Xiao Shuai added. Muyu laughed. He was defeated by Xiao Shuai's words. What does short mean? Long Tongue curiously asked. I told you to read more books, but you don't read. Last time I was in a gambling house in Qingshui City, I found a book called Shimen Wuji vs. Pan Yinlian. It said that short is used to scold men. Xiao Shuai said in all seriousness. Oh my God, Xiao Shuai, what kind of messy book are you reading? Don't tell me this book was written by that fellow, Shimen Wuji? Muyu was stunned. He never knew that there was such a thing. It was written by him. He said that this Enlightenment book was a limited edition of 250 sets from an evil bookstore. It's a collector's edition. Xiao Shuai was never picky when it came to reading books. Muyu's face was full of black lines. He really should find a book like The Necessity of Banning Pornography in the Cultivation World for Xiao Shuai to read. Otherwise, Xiao Shuai would learn bad things. Long Tongue was not interested in this question at all. He asked, Is there no other way to break through this stone pillar array? Muyu shook his head. At least he could only think of this method to break through the array. He muttered to himself for a moment, then simply waved his hand. The runes of the array formed a chair under his feet, and he sat down in satisfaction. After sitting for an hour, Gui Piming was already impatient. If not for the fact that he could only rely on Muyu to break through the stone pillar array, he would have already directly made a move on Muyu. You still haven't considered clearly? Gue Shiming coldly said. Why are you so anxious? Right now, I'm the one who's your boss. Muyu said lazily. You are courting death. Gue Shiming's body was emitting dense ghost chi, but he still forcibly endured it. Muyu had already expected that Gue Shiming would not dare to make a move on him, as he was not a person who liked to suffer losses. This matter was clearly Gue Shiming being shameless from head to toe, so he had to at least earn back some benefits. This matter has no benefit to me. Even if you want to kill me, it's also impossible. Let's talk about the conditions. Muyu crossed his legs and leisurely said, You don't have the qualifications to talk about conditions with me. Gue Shiming said without even raising his eyelids. Oh, so it's like this. Then wait for me to take a nap. When I wake up, I'll see if I have the qualifications to talk about conditions. Muyu yawned, squinted his eyes, and said. Gue Shiming's face was very gloomy. He could not wait to directly capture Muyu, extract his soul, and torture him. But from the exchange just now, Muyu is not so easy to kill, so he did not want to waste his energy. What conditions do you want to talk about? Gue Shiming forcefully suppressed his anger. I said, wait for me to wake up, then we'll talk. Muyu indifferently said. Now Muyu held the initiative. He was the master. Whether or not to break through the array was up to him. Muyu had long disliked the arrogant look of the ghost who cherished his life. He obviously wanted to ask him for help, but his tone was so arrogant. Muyu had to teach this little devil a lesson about the social common sense of whoever has the skill is the boss. Gue Shiming dispersed the ghost chi in his body, coldly snorted, sat down cross-legged, and began to meditate. Muyu, of course, would not really sleep. He was thinking of countermeasures. Breaking through the stone array was definitely a must, but after breaking through, Gue Shiming would definitely burn the bridge after crossing the river. At that time, it would be unavoidable to fight again. He would not let Gue Shiming guarantee not to burn the bridge after crossing the river and so on. The little devil's words were all nonsense. How could it be taken seriously? But he must ensure that after bringing Gue Shiming through the stone array, he still held the initiative. Otherwise, when the time comes, the one to suffer would still be him. Gradually, Muyu already had a plan in his mind. Although this plan could not be considered perfect, but it could be considered as leaving a way out for himself, so as to avoid this guy always wanting to make a move. Muyu's hand transformed into a stone, throwing it towards Gue Shiming. Hey, get up to talk business. The formation pattern turned into a stone, but before it could hit Gue Shiming's head, it had already been shattered by the ghost chi around Gue Shiming's body. He opened his eyes and coldly asked, Speak. What do you want? First, honestly answer a few of my questions. Muyu simply said. Gue Shiming snorted. Muyu took this as a tacit consent. What are you people from the Gate of Hell doing on the Demon Island? Gue Shiming raised his eyebrows. You believe what I say? Muyu spread out his hands. Forget it. I can't take nonsense seriously. Just pretend I didn't ask this. Even if Gue Shiming fabricated a story, Muyu would not be able to distinguish the truth from the lies. Gue Shiming only said that he was traveling on the Demon Island or accidentally came here when the ship hit a reef. Muyu could be sure that it was false. After we break through the stone array, wanting to enter the Sea Demon Palace is not so simple. How do you plan to pass the golden seal that covers the entire Sea Demon Palace? Muyu continued to ask. Gue Shiming glanced at Muyu. You don't need to worry about this. Muyu touched Xiao Shuai's tail, as if thinking for a long time. According to Gue Shiming's words, Gue Shiming should have already told him how to deal with the golden seal, so when the time comes, he should be able to wait for the opportunity to move. Give me Gue Shiming's soul tool. Muyu said, this thing has always been able to know his position. If Muyu wanted to cast an illusion array on Gue Shiming, then with this soul tool, Muyu simply could not hide. Impossible. Gue Shiming flatly refused. Chapter 639. Gue, cherishing life's patience, had almost reached its limit, but he still made a concession. I won't give you the soul tool, but I can leave it outside. Muyu could accept this kind of negotiation result, He originally planned to let Gue Cherishing Life leave behind those 6 annoying twins, but Gue Cherishing Life didn't agree. All right, let's go. Also, I'm warning you, you're not allowed to make a move on me, otherwise our deal is off. Muyu stood up, shot a glance at Gue Cherishing Life, then walked towards the stone pillar array. Gue Cherishing Life coldly snorted and also followed. Walking together with Gue Cherishing Life was a helpless action because this guy was too shameless. He would use a stick on Muyu. And Muyu also wanted to go to see Demon King's palace, so he had to break through the stone pillar array, so he could only temporarily agree to bring him along. Gue Cherishing Life had always been by his side, almost shoulder to shoulder with him. This made Muyu very unhappy. One last thing, if you dare to cheat midway, you'll have to think of a way to break through the array yourself. Muyu felt uncomfortable all over. Gue Cherishing Life coldly snorted and didn't reply. Muyu dodged the advancing stone pillars while leaving formation patterns on the stone pillars. The formation patterns flashed on the stone pillars, but Gue Cherishing Life frowned. The formation patterns you just arranged were not like this. Gue Cherishing Life coldly said. He was naturally suspicious. Although he didn't understand the formation patterns, he still knew how to distinguish them. This kind of formation pattern used as a mark can be casually arranged. I can arrange it however I want to arrange it. Do you have any objections? Muyu casually stuck his own formation pattern on the oncoming stone pillars. Gue Cherishing Life's eyes flashed with a cold light. He didn't continue to refute, but when Muyu arranged the formation pattern on the stone pillars, he also quietly left his own ghost chi on that stone pillar. Clearly, he had his own plan. Muyu saw all of this. He knew that Ghost Cherishing Life was not a simple person. Compared to the other people from the Gate of Hell, he was much more scheming. This guy was indeed difficult to deal with. If you want to play, then we'll have fun. Muyu laughed in his heart. This guy wanted to scheme against him. How could he let Gue Cherishing his life succeed? Because of his first experience, Muyu was much faster when he set up the array pattern the second time. It only took him about 2 hours to set up the array pattern on the stone pillars that he needed to deduce the route. Very quickly, all the moving stone pillars and the surroundings of the entire stone pillar formation were deduced in Muyu's mind. Through the stone pillars that he had already set up, he kept moving forward. The path in front also became clearer and clearer. He seemed to have found a way to break through the formation. At this time, even if he didn't use the formation pattern that he had just marked, he could still find the way out. Muyu originally planned to trick Gue Cherishing Life at this time. But unfortunately, Gue Cherishing Life's vigilance was too strong. He didn't leave his side at all. In addition, the surrounding stone pillars were moving faster and faster. So Muyu couldn't make any mistakes, otherwise he would have to start all over again if he was circled by the stone pillars. After about half an hour, Muyu finally left the stone pillar formation and stood in front of Sea Demon King's majestic palace. And Muyu's figure flashed. He quickly pulled away from Gue Cherishing Life. If I want to kill you, it's useless no matter how you run. Gue Cherishing Life tactfully didn't make a move against Muyu this time. Muyu said indifferently, "You can't kill me, I just don't want to get too close to the Japanese. That's all. I feel unlucky." Gue Cherishing Life turned around and took a glance at the stone pillar formation that was still rotating behind him. He pondered for a moment, even if he remembered the path when he came in just now, but the stone pillar formation's movement pattern was constantly changing. It was useless even if he remembered it. Keeping your life might still be useful. Gue Cherishing Life said coldly. Muyu didn't feel like paying attention to Gue Cherishing Life. He set his gaze on Sea Demon King's palace in front of him. In front of the palace, there was a flight of stairs paved with all kinds of white jade pearls, leading straight to the palace. Sea Demon King's palace was enveloped by the radiance emitted by the golden seal in the sky. It was like a barrier protecting the palace. The barrier's aura was really too strong. Standing at the bottom of the flight of stairs, one could feel its inviolable majesty. This aura came from Taoist master Xianjizi's body. It was just like the heavenly aura left behind by Taoist master Xianjizi when he fought with Sea Demon King Yujiang. Didn't you just say that you have a way to pass through this barrier? Muyu asked. Gue, cherishing life, pondered for a moment, then said, Boy, I know you want to enter Seed Demon King's palace, but I'm afraid you will be disappointed because my method only allows one person to pass through. Muyu said indifferently, I can't enter. Then you can wait to be trapped in Seed Demon King's palace to death. That's not necessarily true. You thought that I kept your life to leave, but you are wrong. I suddenly thought of another use for your life. After Gue, cherishing life, finished speaking, he didn't pay attention to Muyu anymore. He directly stepped on the flight of stairs and walked towards the palace. Muyu was getting more and more confused. Gue, cherishing life, didn't seem to be worried about the problem of leaving. Could it be that Gue Yezi already told him how to leave? But this guy couldn't even enter. How could he know how to enter? Could it be that there was something in this palace that could guide him out? He didn't hesitate at once. He also followed Gue, cherishing life, up the flight of stairs and arrived at the edge of the golden seal barrier. This barrier wasn't formed by formation patterns. It was a kind of pure power. It was vast, majestic, and very steady. Gue, cherishing life, only shot an indifferent glance at Muyu. The six twins drilled out from his body and floated in midair. The six twins' bodies emitted a faint light, with Gue, cherishing life, as the center. They stood in a strange position. At the same time, their hands formed hand seals. Soul power poured out from the twins' bodies, intertwined with each other, and surrounded Gue, cherishing life, in the middle. A pitch-black ghost seal appeared in Gue, cherishing life's hand. Looking carefully, it was actually exactly the same as the golden seal above the palace. Only the color was different. Moreover, the aura was very gloomy, and there was also a ghostly wailing and wolf-howling sound coming from it. This ghost seal was more like an imitation, but the six twins' soul power unceasingly poured into the ghost seal. Then Gue, cherishing life, lightly touched the ghost seal above the barrier. The golden spirit light began to circulate from the barrier. The ghost seal was like some kind of vortex sucking the power of the barrier. The black light emitted. The tyrannical aura forced Muyu to retreat a few steps. When Muyu stabilized his body, Gue, cherishing life, was already shrouded in the pitch-black fog. But this pitch-black ghost fog only lasted for a while. Soon the golden spirit light on the barrier assimilated all the ghost fog. The pitch-black ghost fog actually became exactly the same as the barrier's power. When he looked at the ghost seal in Gue, cherishing life's hand again, that originally black ghost seal also became golden. The six twins rushed into the ghost seal, and Gue, Pei Ming easily entered the enchantment. Muyu originally wanted to follow Gue, cherishing life in, but that ghost fog shook him away. He couldn't get close at all. Gue, cherishing life, coldly looked at Muyu in the barrier, then pushed open the palace door and disappeared from the palace. Damn it! How did this guy hide from the barrier's power? Muyu walked to the edge of the barrier, carefully reached out his hand to touch the barrier. The barrier didn't have any lethality. It was like a layer of gauze. The place where Muyu touched still flowed with a burst of spirit light. He knocked on the barrier, but found that there was no rebound. The power he knocked on the barrier was actually absorbed by the barrier. His fingers seemed to be knocking on cotton, soft and without any strength. There was no way to enter this barrier. Muyu didn't have any way to forcefully break the barrier because this aura was too strong, far from what he could break. Little Shuai, what is this barrier? Muyu asked. Little Shuai stood on Muyu's shoulder, stretched out his small hand and pressed on the barrier, then looked at the golden seal above his head, pondered for a moment, and said, This power is so familiar. I seem to have seen it somewhere before. That golden seal is also very familiar, but it shouldn't belong to this world's power. Power that doesn't belong to this world? What does that mean? Muyu was surprised. Little Shuai explained, This power is the same as the flesh-winged horn monster we encountered last time. It doesn't belong to the third layer of heaven. But this power clearly belongs to Taoist Master Xianjizi. It's very similar to Taoist Master Xianjizi's power. And Taoist Master Xianjizi is a senior of the Formation Glyph sect. How can it not belong to the third layer of heaven? Muyu said, puzzled. Little Shuai said, I feel that Taoist master Xianjizi isn't such a simple person. I seem to remember that his golden seal is called something like the Heavenly Birth Reincarnation Seal. It has a very powerful ability. At that time, the white-bearded old man said that this thing was too dangerous and wanted to seal it. Heavenly Birth Reincarnation Seal? You're saying that Master wanted to seal this golden seal before? Muyu was surprised. Anyway, that's what I remember. I don't know, I only remember a lot of things vaguely. I can't explain it clearly. I just remember that this Taoist Master Xianjizi is a bit familiar. So that's how it is? That's right. I remember that Taoist Master Xianjizi promised the white-bearded old man that he would take good care of this seal, Little Shuai said, wagging his tail. Muyu didn't doubt Little Shuai's words. Little Shuai and his master had a very deep relationship, and he seemed to have a lot of memories of the past. Although he was always muddle-headed, he usually wouldn't be wrong. So Gui, cherishing life, is after this heavenly birth reincarnation seal. Do you have a way to enter this barrier? Muyu asked, since his master believed that this heavenly birth reincarnation seal was very dangerous, that naturally couldn't fall into the hands of the people from the gate of hell. Little Shuai rubbed his head, thinking hard. After a long time, he shook his head. I don't know. Muyu was pondering something, because Taoist Master Xianjizi's remnant consciousness had said that the power to enter the Yao Sealing Pagoda was sealed in the palace. This was a test that Taoist Master Xianjizi gave to outsiders, so there was no way he would use such a powerful barrier to obstruct Muyu's footsteps. He must have left a way out. So what exactly was this path of retreat? But just as Muyu was thinking, a distant sound came from the palace. It was like it had come from ancient times, vast and ancient. At the same time, an even more powerful aura came from the palace. The heavenly birth reincarnation seal in the sky underwent some strange changes, as if it had begun to spin. Not good. Gui, cherishing life, has already entered the palace. Did he obtain the power to open the Yao Sealing Pagoda? Chapter 640. Gui Shiming had already thought of a way to enter the palace. If he got what he wanted, then Muyu would have a hard time taking it back from him. He had to find a way to enter the palace. How are we going to get in? Dragon Tongue asked. Muyu jumped down the stairs and came to the front of the stone pillar array. He stepped, and the 8 trigrams array pattern spread out with him as the center. Then the dense array pattern quickly covered the stairs. Little Shuai, help me. Muyu waved his hand, and a dozen innate array foundation appeared in the air. He had to set up a few powerful fixed arrays. If Gui Shiming got what he wanted, Muyu had to find a way to deal with him. Little Shuai took the innate array foundation and quickly went to the place Muyu pointed out and merged the array foundation into the array pattern. Muyu's Chaos Yin and Yangqi also merged into the array pattern. After setting everything up, he jumped back up the stairs and walked to the front of the enchantment. At this moment, the powerful aura in the palace was still surging. The ancient voice kept echoing. Muyu touched the enchantment with his hand. The spirit light on the enchantment flowed. The source of this strange spirit light came from the sky birth reincarnation seal above the palace. Muyu walked around the enchantment, but still didn't find any clues. It seemed like he had to start from the top. He couldn't fly here. Once he flew up, he would enter another array world. He wouldn't be able to see the palace's location. But Muyu still chose to fly up. At least for now, this was the only choice. After Muyu flew up, he found that there was only a vast cloud world left. There were layers of white clouds floating around. In the distance, there were flocks of birds. Looking from afar, there was a sun shining in the clouds. Just now, Xianjizi said, the dragon body flies through the clouds. The sun sets on the sky birth wheel. Do not be disloyal. What does this mean? After Muyu flew up the clouds, he had some understanding of this poem. He could see the setting sun and clouds in the sky, but Muyu still didn't understand what this sentence had to do with entering the palace. As a translator, can you explain this sentence? Little Shuai asked Long Tongue. When Long Tongue was in the Sand Eagle King City, he already understood the Yao language. Little Shuai understood the Yao language. One was a text translator, and the other was a simultaneous interpreter. The two of them worked well together. How would I know what it means? Dragon Vine wagged its tail. Muyu pondered for a moment as he looked at the sun in the distance. When Reverend Xian Jizi mentioned the Heaven Evolution Wheel of Setting Sun, the Heaven Evolution will should be referring to the Heaven Evolution Reincarnation Seal. In that case, how should he explain the first half of the sentence, flying through the clouds with a dragon's body? Chiu means that I am a true dragon with horns and a domineering aura. Does the Chiu body, flying cloud crossing, have to rely on me to fly across? The dragon vine straightened its body and said majestically, "Don't give me that. Xianjizi wasn't waiting for you. Who knew you would come?" Xiao Shui said. Muyu also agreed with Xiao Shui's words. Xianjizi wouldn't use a dragon to remind anyone. However, flying through the clouds with a dragon's body should mean that he should bend his body and fly across the clouds. However, this saying was too strange. How could he just bend his body? He tried bending down and looking at the sun in the distance from different angles, but he didn't find anything strange. The clouds were still drifting, and the sun was still motionless. Could he be wrong? Have no disloyalty? Muyu repeated this sentence. What was this disloyalty referring to? According to Xiao Shui, the Heaven Evolution Reincarnation Seal was very dangerous. Xianjizi should be protecting it. In that case, he shouldn't want others to use the Heaven Evolution Reincarnation Seal for evil. Muyu didn't have any intention of using the Heaven Evolution Reincarnation Seal, so he believed that he should be able to achieve the have no disloyalty point. Setting sun. How can I see the setting sun? Muyu simply sat on the clouds and stared at the sun. According to his estimation, he had been in the Sea Demon Palace for at least a day. It should be noon now. However, he didn't know if the setting sun he saw here was the same as the sun outside. However, the sun in front of him didn't show any signs of moving. This was quite strange. It meant that the sun here was just an illusion. In Xianjizi's formation domain, the surroundings were full of formation patterns. However, the formation patterns here were very resistant to Muyu. They weren't like the land of opportunity just now, which could be used by Muyu in a special way. This meant that Muyu couldn't control the formation patterns here. After all, Xianjizi's formation techniques were much higher than Muyu's. Big earthworm, don't you think that cloud looks like cotton candy? It doesn't. Then what about the cloud floating from the left? Why does it feel like this cloud has been cut by a knife? Little Shui and Long Tongue were discussing the shape of the surrounding clouds. Muyu inadvertently swept his gaze over the cloud and suddenly had a thought. He had been focusing on the sun all this time and had neglected the surrounding clouds. Muyu leaped high into the air. As expected, he found clues about the clouds. Muyu, why are you flying so high? Little Shui asked, puzzled. Muyu landed again and smiled. I know how to explain the hint that Xianjizi gave me. The floating clouds weren't in a random shape at all. Instead, they wandered in the shape of the 8 trigrams. They were of different lengths, just like the stairway to heaven in front of the formation hall. Xianjizi was once a senior of the formation glyph sect, so he definitely knew about the stairway to heaven. Muyu had just confirmed this when he was in the sky. Xianjizi had indeed arranged these clouds according to the way the stairway to heaven operated. The sun usually set at Yushur hour. In the 8 trigrams, the Zai and Dui positions represented Yushur hour. This was actually a deduction. These clouds wandered in the direction of the 8 trigrams. At a certain time, they would be facing the sun. At that time, as long as one stood on the Zai or Dui position of the clouds and jumped in the direction of the sun, they would be able to get close to the sky-deriving reincarnation seal. If Muyu's guess was correct, the sky-deriving reincarnation seal was probably the sun in the distance. After listening to Muyu's explanation, Little Shui asked doubtfully, "Why do I feel like this place was specially designed for you? If it wasn't a formation master who came in, who could have predicted this?" Muyu replied, "You're wrong. Xianjizi only gave me this hint because he knew that I was the sect master of the formation glyph sect. If it were anyone else, Taoist master Xianjizi would have given him different hints. Think about the lands of opportunity and you'll understand. Different people will enter different lands of opportunity. Taoist master Xian Jizi's ability to design arrays is truly amazing. If I came in alone, what kind of hint would he give me? Long Tongue asked curiously. Little Shuai happily retorted, you wouldn't be able to guess even if he gave you a hint. I think Xian Jizi's hint would be, Great Sea, what's the most handsome thing in the world? Then I would just have to passionately answer, Little Shuai. Then Xian Jizi would send me over. All right, you're the most handsome. Muyu couldn't help but laugh. There was no one else who could be this narcissistic. He pulled Little Shuai and Long Tongue over and began to calculate the changes in the clouds. After 15 minutes, the positions of the clouds just happened to align with the position of the sun. At this moment, Muyu lightly jumped. The tips of his toes stepped on the clouds in the Z position. He bent slightly and then jumped out, flying through the clouds, setting the sun and the heavenly evolution wheel. None of these three could be missing. Muyu only felt a strange force appear beside him. Then, the scene in front of him suddenly changed rapidly. When he came back to his senses, he was already standing at the entrance of the palace. He turned around and looked at the barrier created by the heavenly evolution reincarnation seal. He knew that he had succeeded. He didn't hesitate and hurriedly pushed open the majestic door of the palace. The door was very heavy. Muyu could only push open a crack, but it was enough to enter. After entering the palace, there weren't any magnificent carved railings or incomparably noble thrones. What entered his eyes was a high platform. The high platform was surrounded by powerful inscriptions. In the center was a huge golden seal floating in midair. This was probably the real heavenly evolution reincarnation seal. The thing above the palace outside was just an illusion. At this moment, Gue Piming was beside the high platform. A powerful ghost aura emerged from his body to corrode the 8 trigrams inscriptions. The powerful aura that Muyu felt outside the palace just now came from those 8 trigrams inscriptions. When one of the inscriptions was corroded, it would let out a very ancient and distant sound, as if it was sighing. How did you get in? Gue Piming also noticed Muyu. He was stunned for a moment. He was very surprised by Muyu's sudden appearance. Handsome people don't need the help of others to come in. It's impossible for a hateful Japanese like you to understand. Xiao Shuai said proudly on Muyu's shoulder. While they were talking, another inscription was corroded by Gue Piming. I can't let you take things as you wish. Muyu didn't know what Gue Piming wanted to do with the heavenly evolution reincarnation seal. However, his goal was obviously for this. Muyu wouldn't let him succeed. The shadow sword flashed with a green light. The sharp sword Qi had already swept towards Gue Piming. Courting death, Old 6th and Old 7th. The two of you go and capture him for me. Obtain his soul. It just so happens that this place is lacking a soul. Gue Palife shouted. 2 ghost shadows flew out from the ghost seal in Gue Piming's hand. They were Gue Piming's 2 twins. These 2 twins were both at the unification stage. The 2 of them together made Muyu feel a huge pressure. Muyu's formation runes surged under his feet. He must defeat these 2 twins. And Gue Piming was still unable to break free. If he wanted to deal with Gue Piming, this was the best time. I'm the best at dealing with twins. Xiao Shuai's 5 Thunderblast. Chapter 641. Gue Shiming had 6 twins, but only sent 2. It was clear that he needed the help of the other twins to erode the heavenly birth reincarnation seal. 2 body integration stage cultivators from the Devil's Gate might give Muyu a headache, but Muyu didn't have to worry about 2 souls. Mu Ling turned into a powerful vine in the blink of an eye and rushed towards Gue Laolu and Gue Laoqi. The 2 twins already knew how powerful Muyu's plants were, so they didn't dare to be careless. Instead, they separated their hands with pure soul power and blocked the vines. Do you really think we only have 1 soul tool from Senior Gue Shitzi? You are too naive. Gue Laoqi fiercely rushed towards Muyu. He was holding a white rib in his hand. It was clearly the soul tool of a human soul on the Demon Island. The soul tool could cover the ghost Qi on their body. This way, they wouldn't be restrained by Muyu. Because of the special cultivation method of the Gate of Hell, even if they became souls, they still had the same cultivation as when they were alive. This was the unique characteristic of the Gate of Hell. Therefore, they weren't afraid of being absorbed by Muyu's Muling Come. Even your own mother won't recognize you. Xiao Shuai and Long Tongue rushed out. Blue electric sparks exploded in the air. Xiao Shuai's small figure coupled with the asymmetrical thunder sword was mighty and overbearing. Those little devils have turned into ghosts. Their mother won't recognize them. Long Tongue's breath swept out again and cut off Xiao Shuai's thunder sword. Muyu's runes rolled out and suppressed Xiao Shuai's broken sword in his hand. Then, he pulled out the shadow sword from the air. The tyrannical power of thunder and lightning immediately rushed towards Gue Laolu and Gue Laolu. Gue Laolu held the soul tool in his hand and scattered it. The white soul power and the black chi on his body formed a sharp contrast. The soul power crisscrossed in the air and formed a barrier in front of him to welcome the sudden explosion of thunder and lightning. Muyu's lightning just now had left a deep impression on them. Even Gue Ziming, who had a physical body, didn't dare to take it head-on, so Gue Laochi and Gue Laolu also flew back. However, above the explosion of Muyu's tyrannical power of thunder and lightning, a sword shape appeared, and all the exploding thunder and lightning were all directed to Gue Pei Ming, who was eroding the inscription. Damn it! Stop him! Gue Shiming had been paying attention to Muyu's movements. When he saw the lightning power sweeping towards him, he didn't dare to underestimate it. He quickly shouted at Gue Laochi and Gue Laolu. Gue Laochi and Gue Laolu also reacted. Muyu's attack just now was not used to deal with them. His target was Gue Laolu. Gue Lu and Gue Chi leapt forward, the soul armaments in their hands surging with soul force to protect themselves. However, their defense was a little hasty. The area where the lightning exploded was too close to their souls. The tyrannical lightning instantly broke through the barrier of soul power and landed on their bodies. Ah! Gue Laolu cried out in pain. In order to protect Gue Ziming from harm, he had taken the brunt of Muyu's lightning attack. But lightning was the most righteous and tyrannical thing in the world. How could a mere soul be able to withstand it? If not for the fact that Gue Laoyo's cultivation wasn't low, the lightning would have been enough to scatter his soul. How are you, Laolu? Gue Laolu rushed over to check on Gue Laoyo's condition. At this moment, blue lightning was flashing on Gue Laoyo's soul. Crackling and crackling, the dense ghostly aura on his body was dissipating. His soul was becoming much more transparent, and his aura had dropped by a large amount. I can't. The lightning is too uncomfortable. Gue Laoyo's face was dispirited. The soul armament in his hand couldn't help but fall to the ground. Damn it, this brat is really evil. Gue Laochi angrily raised his head, but what greeted him was another restless lightning ball shooting towards him and exploding above his head. Crackle. The lightning crackled in the air as Gue Chi tried to bring Gue Lu into the soul armament in his hand to avoid being struck by the lightning. But to his horror, Gue Chi realized that the lightning in Gue Lu's body was being transmitted to his hand, causing his soul to tremble. This was what one would call the trembling of one's soul. Gue Laolu instinctively pulled his hand back. Seeing that the lightning was about to explode, he had no choice but to pull back his soul armament. At the same time, another ball of lightning exploded above Gue Laolu. The powerful tearing force of the lightning tore through Gue Laoyo's body. The pitiful Gue Laolu didn't even have time to scream before he was struck by the lightning again. This time, he couldn't resist it. His soul was covered with lightning marks. Then his soul shattered like a piece of paper and disappeared without a trace. His soul had truly been destroyed. Laolu! When Gue Chi came out of the soul armament and saw this, he cried out in alarm. His face twisted in anger as he glared hatefully at Muyu. If they hadn't helped Gue Ziming block the ball of lightning, Gue Laolu wouldn't have been hit so easily. Laolu, you should take care of yourself first. The ball of lightning in Mu Yu's hand once again blasted towards Gue Laolu. After killing one twin, there were still 5 more. This little devil was really difficult to deal with. Gue Ziming was also very gloomy. The twins' death had a considerable impact on him, but he had already reached the critical moment of breaking the inscription. He simply couldn't free himself to deal with Mu Yu. He could only endure the surging injuries in his body and continue to break the array. Mu Yu, you will definitely die in my hands. Gue Ziming gnashed his teeth and shouted. How could he have thought that one of his twins would be killed so easily? The last person who said this to me has already met the same fate as Gue Laolu. Mu Yu's hand transformed into a shadow sword. The power of lightning was all absorbed into the sword, and then it disappeared into the void. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Gue Ziming. Gue Laolu wanted to block the shadow sword, but he also had a ball of lightning on his side. He simply couldn't afford to be distracted. He could only deal with the ball of lightning in front of him with all his strength to avoid the same fate as Gue Laolu. Gue Ziming clenched his teeth. He had no choice but to withdraw his hand. He quickly retreated and dodged Mu Yu's ball of lightning at the critical moment. 1/3 of the inscriptions on the 8 trigrams pattern had already been eroded by Gue Ziming. However, because of Mu Yu's interference, those eroded inscriptions slowly circulated and actually began to recover on their own. Taoist Master Xian Jizi's array technique domain. All laws returned to origin. All of a sudden, Gue Ziming's previous efforts were all wasted. If he wanted to obtain the Sky Spill Reincarnation Seal, he could only start again. Gue Ziming stabilized his body in the air. The power of lightning just now didn't hurt him. However, the defensive barrier around the Sky Spill Reincarnation Seal made him suffer a backlash. At this moment, the spiritual power in his body was already very unstable. He forcibly suppressed the blood in his throat. You actually dared to kill my twin. Gue Ziming's anger soared to the sky. I killed your twin. Wasn't he killed by you a long time ago? I just helped you release his soul. The shadow sword in Mu Yu's hand flashed with a green light, and the awe-inspiring sword intent penetrated through the body. Long Tongue and Xiao Shui landed beside Mu Yu. They were not to be outdone and confronted Gue Ziming. It seems that if I don't get rid of you today, I can't be at ease. Sky Spill Reincarnation Seal is in my hands. Gue Ziming's voice was suffused with cold, killing intent. I thought you had already figured out this point. Mu Yu tapped his foot. The formation pattern flashed. The shadow sword had already left his hand and chopped towards Gue Ziming. Just now, he was shamelessly threatened by Gue Ziming to lead the way. He had already suppressed a bellyful of anger. Now, killing a twin could be considered as collecting some interest. He could see that the aura on Gue Ziming's body was unstable. Just now, he forcefully withdrew his ghost technique. This was exactly what Mu Yu wanted to see. Otherwise, with Gue Ziming's body integration stage cultivation, Mu Yu would have no chance to deal with him. The remaining twins on Gue Ziming's body all rushed out. Each twin held a soul tool in their hands. They knew that Mu Yu was not ordinary. So Gue Shitzi lent the soul tools in the hands of the souls under his jurisdiction to Gue Ziming. Unfortunately, Gue Laolu did not have time to dodge in order to cover Gue Ziming. Even if he had a soul tool, he still lost his life. Tear this brat into pieces and avenge Laolu. Gue Laolu roared in grief and indignation. The other twins also responded. Then they all spread out and surrounded Mu Yu. 6 body integration stage people from the gate of hell surrounded Mu Yu. Mu Yu had no choice but to be cautious. Although he had the help of thunder and lightning, as long as the other party dodged the thunder and lightning and used the soul power and the soul tool to deal with him, he would be in danger. Kill! Gue Ziming gave the order. 6 ghostly figures streaked across the sky and pounced towards Mu Yu with endless killing intent. Mu Yu jumped up and kicked out a shadow sword with the tip of his foot. It collided with the soul tool in the hands of one of the twins. The shadow sword was unable to block the power of the body integration stage and was sent flying. Mu Yu raised his hand and the shadow sword fell from the void into his hand. The surging sword chi turned towards the other twin. But at this moment, Gui Ziming's blood-colored long axe arrived. A scarlet light streaked across and looked towards Mu Yu's neck. Countless vines gushed out from under Mu Yu's feet and intertwined to form a wall in front of him. Leaves fluttered, and every leaf wrapped around the blood-colored long axe. Although they were quickly shattered, they also took away a part of the blood-colored long axe's power. When the blood-colored long axe chopped down, most of its power had already been neutralized. Mu Yu met it with his sword and blocked Gui Ziming's blood-colored long axe to the side. Xiao Shuai's mysterious lightning fall. The blue greatsword danced in the palace, and every sword shadow carried righteous thunder and lightning as it slashed toward the twins. Those twins were rather afraid of the lightning sword in his hand and did not dare to meet it head-on. They could only dodge. After all, the twins were body integration stage cultivators. Although they were afraid of lightning, they were extremely fast. Xiao Shuai's huge sword was unable to touch them. If not for Long Tongue protecting Xiao Shuai from the side, they would have already taken him down. Gui Ziming's attacks became more and more fierce. Mu Yu could not hold on any longer, especially with the twins constantly harassing him. He could not hold on any longer. But at this moment, one of the twins took advantage of a gap behind Mu Yu and stabbed out with the soul tool in his hand, hitting Mu Yu's body. Chapter 642. The twin soul power invaded Mu Yu's body, causing Mu Yu's body to turn upside down, but the black and white spirit power quickly poured into Mu Yu's meridians, dissolving the soul power that invaded from the outside. Mu Yu fell to the altar, landing on the edge of the altar, and stood firm on the altar's carved railing. But Gui Shiming did not give him a chance to breathe. The blood-red long axe once again mercilessly chopped down. Mu Yu could only barely wave the shadow, sword to block. Mu Yu was under a lot of pressure while fighting with Gui Shiming. The opponent's cultivation was much higher than his, so he could not bear it. His body retreated from time to time, and finally fell directly on the altar, retreating to the edge of the inscription array of the reincarnation seal. Little Shuai and Long Tongue also retreated to Mu Yu's side, helping Mu Yu to resolve the pressure of Gui Shiming. The remaining 5 twins fell around and above Mu Yu. At the same time, a powerful soul power trapped the entire altar. Even if Mu Yu wanted to use the Heavenly Dipper constellation array, he could not escape from this range. I want to see where you escape to this time. Gui Shiming smiled. The blood-red long axe in his hand once again chopped down on Mu Yu. Mu Yu had no choice but to retreat again. Behind him was the enchantment formed by those inscriptions, but no one thought that the inscription enchantment that blocked Gui Shiming did not stop Mu Yu, but easily allowed Mu Yu to enter the enchantment. At this time, the blood-red long axe had already chopped down. The inscription glowed with golden light, and in the blink of an eye, Gui Shiming's blood-red long axe was shaken away. The strong rebound made Gui Shiming's whole body fly out, and it took a lot of effort to stabilize his body. How can you enter this enchantment? Gui Shiming was shocked and angry. He came a long time earlier than Mu Yu. According to the method taught by Gui Yuzi, he spent a lot of effort but was unable to enter the enchantment immediately. Originally, the enchantment was almost eroded by him, but Mu Yu intervened. What he couldn't stand the most was that Mu Yu didn't do anything at all and directly entered the enchantment. That's right. How can I enter this barrier? Mu Yu was also rather surprised. His original intention was to prevent Gui Shiming from obtaining the Heavenly Divination Reincarnation Seal. Who would have thought that he would inexplicably enter this array formation? He must have some kind of magic treasure on him, otherwise it would be impossible for him to do this. Gui Laoqi said angrily, "Kill these 2 demonic beasts." Gui Pai Ming said angrily. Xiao Shuai and Long Tongue were blocked outside the barrier. They couldn't enter. Mu Yu tried to reach out and grab Xiao Shuai and Long Tang's tails, pulling them in as well. Demonic beast, your sister. I'm a mythical beast, do you understand? Do you want me to teach you how to write the word God? Let me tell you, it's a little horizontal stroke. Xiao Shuai shouted. It's a little vertical stroke. Long, tongue corrected. A little bit is too stingy. Using a little horizontal stroke is more generous. Xiao Shui retorted. Muyu heaved a sigh of relief. He reached out and touched the enchantment. The powerful enchantment that could block Gui Shiming's attack allowed him to enter so easily. This was inconceivable to him. It could be said that his surprise was no less than Gui Shiming's. He was sure that this wasn't the work of the chaotic yin and yang. Although the chaotic yin and yang could control all the array patterns, it didn't have any reaction when he entered. Most importantly, perfected Xianjizi was an array master with his own domain. His cultivation was ridiculously high, and the array he set up had his own domain. Even if Muyu had the help of the array hall and the array rune stone, it was impossible for him to control perfected Xianjizi's array. So what exactly allowed him to enter? Don't be disloyal, is that what you mean? Muyu pondered. The demonic beast's enchantments like to rely on none of disloyalty to block intruders. Perfected Xianjizi used the demonic beast's enchantment to protect the heavenly divination reincarnation seal in the demonic beast's territory. It's not none of disloyalty, otherwise I would have entered long ago. Xiao Shui shook his head. Every time, he was the first to discover how to pass through the demonic beast's enchantment. So he was sure that this enchantment wasn't the same as the demonic beast's. Then what is it? Longting also felt that it was strange. Muyu touched the enchantment. Those inscriptions flowed. He was surprised to find that the black and white spirit energy in his body was actually gradually fusing into the enchantment and then flowing into his body. It's the life and death aura of the underworld grass. The heavenly divination reincarnation seal seems to be related to the underworld grass. Muyu nodded thoughtfully. However, he quickly stopped worrying about it, because he was at least temporarily safe. This enchantment was like a shelter that separated him from the Japanese. Gui Shiming and his twins were stomping with rage outside, but they had no way of entering. Huh, Japanese, let me tell you how to enter. Only the handsome can pass through this enchantment. With your pathetic looks, I don't think you have a chance. Xiao Shui proudly provoked from inside. Oomph. If we can't enter, can you come out? Gui Shiming coldly snorted. The five twins had already set up all kinds of spirit energy ghost techniques. These ghost techniques were similar to formation techniques and were specially used to deal with Muyu. They should have set up these ghost techniques after entering, but Gui Shiming thought that Muyu wouldn't be able to enter this place, so he didn't spend any effort. Muyu couldn't be bothered with the words of the people from the gate of hell. His gaze landed on the heavenly divination reincarnation seal. When he got closer, he realized that the heavenly divination reincarnation seal looked completely different from the top of the palace outside. This golden seal was the size of a palm, and there was a lifelike mountain peak carved on it. On the mountain peak, no matter if it was grass, trees, or rocks, every grain was clearly visible. Muyu was even surprised to find that there was a small cave in the middle of the mountain peak. Outside the cave was a protruding stone platform. On top of it was a small stone table and stone bench. Beside it was an old banyan tree. This mountain peak looked like it was filled with immortal energy. It was completely no different from a real mountain peak. The base of the mountain peak was in the shape of the 8 trigrams. At this moment, there was yin and yang energy revolving around the entire heavenly divination reincarnation seal. Little Commander, are you sure this is the heavenly divination reincarnation seal? Muyu asked curiously, because what Little Commander saw outside was completely different from what he saw now. Little Commander nodded. It can't be wrong. This thing looks different from when you see it from a distance, but the aura can't be mistaken. Muyu carefully reached out his hand, wanting to take the heavenly divination reincarnation seal. Actually, he was just giving it a try. He thought that this thing would at least resist for a while. He didn't expect that the heavenly divination reincarnation seal would be directly taken by Muyu. Brat, be sensible and hand over the heavenly divination reincarnation seal. I'll spare your life. Gui Laochi shouted angrily from outside. Are you crazy? What right do you have to spare my life? Who do you think you are? Can you enter? Muyu felt that the people from the gate of hell were really stupid. They didn't even have the ability to enter and were still blindly shouting outside. Gue Laochi was infuriated by Muyu's scolding, but there was nothing he could do. Gue Laochi said coldly, "We don't need to go in. We just need to wait for you to come out." This was indeed a problem. At this moment, the people from the gate of hell surrounded the altar. They even set up all kinds of messy ghost techniques to deal with him. He couldn't escape even if he had wings. Muyu simply sat down on the stone platform where the heavenly divination reincarnation seal was originally placed. He flipped the reincarnation seal over and over in his hand. Then, he found some difficult words below the reincarnation seal. Text translator, tell me what words this is. Muyu asked Long Tongue. Long Tongue looked at it for a long time and then uttered a series of strange and incomprehensible syllables. Speak human language. I am the master of fate, overturn the universe, reincarnation, and control the world. Long Tongue used a language that only Muyu and Little Shuai could understand. Its ability was to make whoever it wanted to understand it. This ability could prevent the people from the gate of hell from eavesdropping. What does this mean? Are you speaking in riddles again? Muyu asked. Long Tongue shook its head. Little Shuai, you recognize this thing. Do you know how to use it? Muyu turned to Little Shuai. This thing is too dangerous. Only the white-bearded old man and Taoist Xian Jizi know how to use it, Little Shuai said. Muyu pondered for a long time, but he didn't understand anything from the 16 words Long Tongue translated. It didn't seem like a riddle. It was more like a grand advertisement. Unfortunately, there was no manual. Gue Laochi heard the three of them discussing something outside, but he couldn't understand Long Tongue's words, so he was very angry. Why don't you guys tell us what it says, so we can all understand it? Gue Laochi said. Muyu looked at Gue Laochi like he was an idiot. Then, he used the wind-wind heart-linking formation to connect Long Tongue and Little Shuai. Now, they didn't have to speak. Everyone knew what they were thinking. It would save them the trouble of having to talk too much. Then, the people from the gate of hell saw Muyu and Little Shuai nod and shake their heads. They shook their heads and nodded again. All kinds of guesses, confusion, surprise, and disappointment flashed across Muyu's face. But the three of them didn't say anything. It was like they were acting in a mime. The three of them pondered for a long time, but they couldn't figure out what it meant. Taoist Xianjizi had left behind such a dangerous treasure, but he had forgotten to leave behind a manual. That was bad for Muyu. But Muyu believed the Skyspill reincarnation seal was the key to opening the suppressing evil tower. Because the palace was empty, there was nothing else. Although he now had a shelter, the Japanese were eyeing him. Even if he had the key, it was useless. It looked like he had no choice but to lay his cards on the table. I say, why do you people from the gate of hell want the Skyspill reincarnation seal? Muyu asked. Gue Laochi grunted and said, that's none of your business. This is the key to opening the suppressing evil tower, right? Muyu asked. Gue Laochi's eyes flashed, and he said, so what if it is? Muyu saw Gue Laochi's reaction. He guessed the Skyspill reincarnation seal wasn't just used to open the suppressing evil tower. His heart jumped, and he said, I know. You guys are looking for that thing in the suppressing evil tower. But from what I see, that thing isn't something you people from the gate of hell can touch. Dragon Tongue was shocked. Muyu, you know what they're looking for? Muyu, who knows what they're looking for? I was just asking. That thing originally belonged to the gate of hell. We just want to take it back. Before Gue Laochi could say anything, Gue Laochi had already said angrily. Muyu smiled and said, something that belongs to the gate of hell? What shameless boasting. That thing was obviously stolen by you people from the gate of hell. Nonsense. It was clearly a little thief who stole our soul transference technique. Gue Laochi, shut up. Gue Laochi coldly interrupted Gue Laochi and then looked at Muyu. You don't even know what we're looking for. Chapter 643. Unfortunately, Gue cherishes his life wasn't as stupid as Gue Laochi. Otherwise, Muyu would have tried to get more information out of him. Even if you know about soul conversions, it's useless. You've never seen it before. You still don't know what we're looking for. Gue cherishes his life, wasn't worried. Muyu only knew a name. Even if he knew the name of something, he wouldn't necessarily know what it was. However, Muyu didn't answer. He was communicating with Lil Shuai and Long Tongue through their expressions again. At the very least, the people from the Gate of Hell thought that Muyu and the other two were communicating through their expressions because they didn't make any sounds. Know it all. I've heard of soul conversions? Muyu asked. Little Shuai wagged his tail and said with interest, never heard of it. Maybe it's a heart? I wonder if it can be eaten. You can eat the heart of Japanese? That's a black heart. Long Tongue's face was full of disgust. My cooking skills are superb. Don't worry. Little Shuai even wanted to eat that disgusting flesh-winged horn monster. Eating the heart of someone from the Gate of Hell wasn't strange at all. Soul conversions? I've never heard of such a thing before. Since it's something from the Gate of Hell, it must be very important to them. In any case, we can't let them succeed, Muyu said. If we stay here and don't go out, they won't succeed. Little Shuai's method was very straightforward. He took out a drumstick from Muyu's chinkuan bag, blew on it twice, and warmed it up. Then, he started eating as if no one else was around. Muyu's face was full of helplessness. He wasn't as heartless as Little Shuai. They had to go out. The problem was how to get out. Gue cherishes his life. How about this? You guys want the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal because you want to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. I just happen to want to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. I'll take care of the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal. After opening the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, we'll go in together. How about it? There was no other way. Perhaps Taoist Master Xianjizi hadn't expected Muyu to pass through the altar's barrier unimpeded and even obtain the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal so easily. Muyu reckoned that Taoist Master Xianjizi had set up a whole bunch of tests in the palace, all of which Muyu had carelessly skipped over. He didn't even receive any notifications to clear the tests. Nothing much. I will kill you and obtain the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal. Gue Shiming did not want to negotiate this time. In his opinion, Muyu was just hiding in the turtle shell, but he was also a turtle in a jar. He had already started to prepare to erode the outer barrier. The ghost chi in his hand once again spread out. However, Muyu waved his hand and a bolt of lightning shot out. Gue Piming raised his hand and formed a streak of soul power. Although the lightning was eliminated, he had no choice but to stop what he was doing. It was clear that the erosion barrier required his full attention. His twin was rather afraid of Muyu's lightning and was unable to create a harmonious working environment for him. Everyone was stuck in a deadlock. All right, I promise you, I will hand over the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal to you for safekeeping. Gue Piming muttered to himself for a moment, but still took the initiative to make a concession. Because he had thought about it, it was really too difficult to erode this barrier, and Muyu had easily obtained the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal for him. A little cooperation was not a big deal. This thing was essential to open the demon subduing pagoda, and Muyu also needed to enter the demon subduing pagoda, so he was not worried that Muyu would cheat or something like that. Most importantly, even if they did not kill Muyu here, when they left the Sea Demon King's palace, there the Gate of Hell had a lot of people, and it was more than enough to deal with Muyu. As for after entering the demon subduing pagoda, at that time, no one would be able to protect Muyu. Muyu naturally thought of this, but if Gue Piming did not make a move against him in the Sea Demon King's palace, Hellion Kong would be able to protect him after they left the Sea Demon King's palace. As for what would happen after entering the demon subduing pagoda, that would have to wait until they left. Hellion Kong probably knew some things, such as what exactly was soul returning. Okay, then you guys hurry up and get rid of those messy demonic arts outside for me, and also retreat to the edge of the stone pillars outside the palace. Then I will come out. Muyu said, these things were naturally necessary. The Japanese's nonsense could not be taken seriously, and Muyu did not want to see a large amount of disgusting ghost chi rushing at him after he left. Then Old Six died for nothing just like that. Gue Laochi was very unwilling. He will not die for nothing. Gue Piming said coldly. Currently, no one could leave this demon island, and everyone was on the same island, so there were plenty of opportunities for revenge, especially in the demons subduing pagoda. That was the best time to make a move. Gui Piming threw out waves of ghost fog, quickly dispelling the inescapable demonic net that he had just set up. Then, he glanced coldly at Muyu and left the palace with his twins. Muyu was not in a hurry to come out. When he came in, he had set up some array patterns. Only when he was sure that Gui Piming would step through those array patterns could he guarantee his safety. He first put the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal back on the altar, then walked out of the barrier and strolled around the palace. Since Taoist master Xianjizi placed this dangerous treasure here, it was reasonable to say that he had prepared some tests. Perhaps his remnant consciousness would even float out and tell Muyu how to use the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal and how to break the barrier. After all, Taoist master Xianjizi did not expect that his barrier would not be able to stop Muyu. Since he wanted to give this treasure away, it would be unreasonable not to leave some hints. However, Muyu walked around, and aside from admiring the various luxurious decorations and mysterious array patterns of the palace, there was nothing left behind. Taoist master Xianjizi's remnant consciousness did not run out again. Don't bother. The thing you want is already in my hands. Gui Piming's voice came from outside the palace. Damn, I was wondering why I couldn't find the instruction manual. It turned out that it was stolen by the Japanese. Muyu cursed. He walked back to the altar, passed through the barrier, picked up the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal, and went through the barrier. However, the moment he passed through the barrier, the entire palace suddenly trembled violently. Then, all the inscriptions on the barrier began to surge. The inscriptions transformed and shrank continuously. They were actually sucked into the cave on the mountainside of the small mountain above the reincarnation seal. This was not good, because when the inscriptions disappeared, the barrier also disappeared. Now, if Gui Piming turned back, Muyu would suffer a great loss. He quickly rushed to the entrance of the palace. When he exited the palace, he found that the barrier outside had also disappeared. Gui Piming was standing on the steps, coldly staring at Muyu. I think you must be looking for this. A golden light appeared in Gui Piming's hand. It was like a cluster of nebula, but also like a whirlpool. The golden fog was flowing, and it looked particularly wonderful. Muyu did not know what it was, but the gate of hell people's things were either red, black, or all kinds of ugly gray. They were lifeless. This golden fog was definitely not theirs. Then, it must belong to the instruction manual of the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal, left behind by Taoist Master Xianjizi. This thing is in the palace. Just now, I passed Taoist Master Xianjizi's test. So, only I know how to use the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal. Gui Piming said. No wonder this guy was not worried about the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal falling into Muyu's hands. It turned out that he already had a bargaining chip. Get rid of the array you prepared. Gui Piming was not a fool. He had already discovered the array that Muyu had arranged at the edge of the stone pillar array. Muyu put away the heaven-deriving reincarnation seal and calmly walked towards the stone pillar array. Gui Piming followed behind Muyu. He did not hide the cold, killing intent on his body. The two people walked into the moving stone pillar array. When they returned, the stone pillar array's moving trajectory was reversed. So, they needed to deduce again. The two people walked side by side into the stone pillar array again. Muyu began to deduce the route out again. With the experience of the previous two attempts, the third attempt at breaking through the pillar array was even easier. However, halfway through, Gui Piming suddenly sneered. Do you really think that I will cooperate with you? Gui Piming suddenly attacked Muyu. Muyu's reaction was also very fast. He had already expected that the Japanese would shed all pretense of cordiality. With a flash, the rapidly moving stone pillar had already separated the two people. Of course, I don't think that you will cooperate with me. Muyu was not surprised at all. Along the way, he had been on guard against the Japanese's movements. Sure enough, this guy could not hold back immediately. I already said just now, I don't need to rely on you to get out. The surrounding stone pillars suddenly soared with ghost chi. Very quickly, it intertwined around Muyu. Soul power poured out and trapped Muyu in a range. When Gue Piming entered, he had already done something to the stone pillars. Although he could not deduce the method to enter, he could still use some secret techniques to record down the route that Muyu had deduced. When the time came, he only needed to reverse the deduction. Most importantly, he originally planned to use ghost arts to kill Muyu in the stone pillar array. Is that so? I also did not plan to bring you out. As Muyu dodged the moving stone pillars, he began to form complicated runes in his hands. At this moment, the ground suddenly lit up with a green light. Following that, the surrounding scenery rapidly changed. The entire stone pillar array had already disappeared. They had all arrived at a desolate plain. Just now, Muyu had not only laid down array patterns on the stone pillars, but he had also laid down array patterns on every step he took. At this moment, he was led by him and immediately used an illusion array to hide all the stone pillars. Gue Piming did not expect Muyu to have such a move. Just as he wanted to take a step forward, his body was suddenly knocked. Following that, his entire body was knocked left and right from time to time. Very quickly, he disappeared from Muyu's eyes. He was knocked to the side of the palace. The illusion array was only added on top of the stone pillar array. Those stone pillars were only covered by Muyu's array. However, it did not mean that they had disappeared. Muyu was able to sense the existence of these stone pillars. However, Gue Piming was unable to sense it immediately. Therefore, he was immediately unlucky. Really, originally, we were going to walk out properly. You, I, and everyone are good. You just had to find trouble. Then don't blame me. Muyu's figure did not stop at all. He kept moving, avoiding the stone pillars. Very quickly, he left the stone pillar array. Chapter 644. In front of the Sea Demon Palace, Gue Yezi and Gue Yeming had never left the Sea Demon Palace. They were waiting for Gue Cherishing Life to come out. Hellion Kong was also guarding the place to prevent Muyu from being attacked by the people of the Gate of Hell when he came out. Brother Hellion, who do you think will walk out of the Sea Demon Palace first? Gue Yezi asked calmly. Hellion Kong snorted. Is it that important who comes out first? The Sea Demon Palace is very dangerous. Cultivators in the spirit severing stage won't be able to get anything out of it. Gue Yezi said with a slight smile. His smile was fake, as if someone was deliberately forcing the corners of his mouth to curl upwards. Cultivators in the spirit severing stage won't be able to get anything out of it. Do you think body integration stage cultivators will be able to get anything out of it? Hellion Kong was still confident in Muyu. After all, Jianing Qinfeng was quite famous in his era. He was even more powerful than Xian Jizi. Since Muyu was Jianing Qinfeng's successor, he naturally wouldn't be too bad. Gue Cherishing Life isn't a good-tempered person. I hope your brat doesn't provoke him. Otherwise, it won't be good if he can't come out. Gue Yeming, who had been taught a lesson by Hellion Kong, sneered. Gue Yeming obviously knew who Muyu was. He also knew that Muyu had some strange abilities that specifically countered the people of the Gate of Hell. Therefore, he had already prepared many methods for Gue Yeming to deal with Muyu. Gue Cherishing Life had 6 twins. They were ghost servants that he had personally raised. Hellion Kong frowned. Just now, he vaguely felt that there was something wrong with Gue Cherishing Life. He had been worried for a long time. Although Muyu was Jianing Qinfeng's disciple, Gue Cherishing Life was still in the body integration stage. With his understanding of the people of the Gate of Hell, the people of the Gate of Hell would kill anyone who stood in their way. However, Hellion Kong still said, that might not be the case. I think very highly of him. Then why don't we have a bet? Let's use the soul tool as the wager. You bet that Muyu will come out first, and I bet that Ghost Cherishes My Life will come out first. If both of us come out first, it will be a draw. Whoever wins will get the soul tool. What do you think? Gue Yezi had always coveted Hellion Kong's soul tool, and even now, he still hadn't given up. Hellion Kong didn't say anything. If something really happened to Muyu inside, then it would probably be a complete loss. The soul tool contained the power of Taoist Master Xianjizi. If he lost the soul tool, then Hellion Kong would lose the initiative in the future. What? Weren't you so confident in Mu from the start? Why are you hesitating now? Or do you think that the younger generation of your pill cauldron school is no match for us from the gate of hell? Gue Yezi laughed. Hellion Kong was slightly annoyed. Let's bet then. And once I win, you're not allowed to lay a hand on Mu. Otherwise, I'll make sure that all of you from the gate of hell stay on this island forever. Good. It's a deal. Gue Yezi laughed. Take out the soul tool before you go back on your word. Hellion Kong's soul tool floated above his hand. He looked at Gue Yezi, but Gue Yezi didn't move at all. Where's your soul tool? Hellion asked. I gave it to Gue Yezi. It's a pity that you can't bring your soul tool into the Sea Demon King's palace. Otherwise, you might have a chance of winning. Gue Yezi smiled faintly. Hellion Kong's expression changed greatly. How could he not know the power of Gue Yezi's soul tool? The people from the Gate of Hell were more familiar with the control of soul power than anyone else. Their soul tools could unleash great power. If Gue Yezi had Gue Yezi's soul tool, then Mu would really be doomed. You're shameless. Hellion Kong was so angry that his beard was trembling. His soul tool was used to maintain the opening of the palace's gates, so he couldn't give it to Mu. However, there were no restrictions on Gue Yezi's soul tool. A hint of pride appeared on Gue Yezi's face. If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. Then I'll wait for you to personally deliver the soul tool. However, before he could finish speaking, the entire entrance to the Sea Demon King's palace suddenly trembled. Then, ripples began to appear on the mirror, and a figure walked out from the mirror. Deliver what? A soul delivery tool? You're talking about this? Muyu's harmless, smiling face appeared in everyone's eyes, and all the people from the Gate of Hell were stunned. How is this possible? Gue Yezi's proud face froze, and soon became distorted. He looked coldly at the black skull in Muyu's hand. Even the 5,000 years of calmness and self-restraint disappeared in an instant. You're talking about this soul tool? Muyu threw Gue Yezi's skull to the ground without hesitation. Then he stepped on it and stomped it twice, saying, I have to say your soul tool is quite sturdy. In the future, when you have nothing to do, you can use it as a stool or something. Didn't you say you were going to use it as a chamber pot just now? Xiao Shuai said in a childish voice. Gue Yezi was completely enraged. His soul tool was his skull from when he was alive, so it was equivalent to his head. However, Muyu stepped on it, and a little spirit beast actually wanted to brazenly use his skull as a chamber pot. How could he endure this kind of humiliation? Brat, you're courting death. You actually dare to treat my soul tool like this. Gue Yezi angrily shouted and was about to attack, but Hellion Kong had already floated over and stuffed his soul tool into Muyu's hand, blocking Gue Yezi's attack in time. Gue Yeming also wanted to attack, but seeing Hellion Kong beside Muyu, he forcibly restrained himself. Even after Hellion Kong's death, his cultivation was far above Gue Yeming's. This demon island was not like other places. Hellion Kong's face bloomed with joy. Ayaya, such a precious gift. So you secretly gave it to my family's Muyu to protect himself. We're all on the same side. Why didn't you say so earlier? I almost misunderstood you. Gue Yezi was so angry that his whole body trembled, but he didn't know how to react. This was because the matter of him and Hellion Kong's bet was heard by all the spirits present. Because opening the Sea Demon Palace was a matter of great importance, the four leaders were all waiting here, with Bo Hong and Mu Meng Fei as witnesses. I still feel that Senior's leg bone looks more familiar. This black skull looks like it was fished out of a latrine. It's really ugly. Muyu held Hellion Kong's leg bone in his hand, as if it was a treasure, then stepped on Gue Yezi's skull twice. Of course, the two of us hit it off. Hellion Kong laughed loudly and patted Muyu's shoulder. Muyu felt his shoulder being hit by 1,000-year-old ice, and a chill ran down his spine. All the human spirits watched as Muyu stepped on Gue Yezi's skull, and the corners of their mouths twitched slightly. This brat really dared to do something like this. That was Gue Yezi's soul tool. Gue Yezi was from the Gate of Hell when he was alive, so his soul tool was very powerful when refined. Gue Yezi stretched out his hand, wanting to take back his soul tool, but Hellion Kong was already prepared for this and blocked the soul tool in time. What's going on? Gue Yezi, this is no longer yours. If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. Don't go back on your word. Hellion Kong stretched out 2 fingers and pointed at his soul tool. Then, the soul tool emitted a pure soul power that covered Gue Yezi's skull, immediately cutting off the connection between Gue Yezi and his skull. You've lived on this demon island for 5,000 years. Don't tell me you've lived your life as a dog. Or are all the people from the gate of hell like this? If that's the case, then I really suspect that you people from the gate of hell came to the demon island with bad intentions. Muyu hooked the skull with the tip of his foot and then kicked it to Little Handsome. I'll give it to you as a chamber pot. Little Handsome put his 2 little feet into the skull's eye sockets, and then it was time for all kinds of Little Handsome to play with balls. Gue Yezi's soul power was restless, and his face was terrifyingly gloomy. Seeing his soul tool being played with by a spirit beast, his lungs were about to explode from anger. Speaking of which, where's that junior from the gate of hell? Muyu, you didn't kill him, did you? Let me tell you, although you're stronger than him, we have to be kind and good children. Don't kill him. At most, beat him until he's permanently disabled. Do you understand? Hellion Kong said earnestly. Muyu was only at the severed soul stage, while Gue Yezi was at the body integration stage. However, Hellion Kong insisted that Muyu was stronger than Gue Yezi, and even warned Muyu not to kill. As long as he was beaten until he was permanently disabled, this old man was clearly not someone to be trifled with. Senior's teachings are right. This junior will definitely do as you say next time. As for that Gue Yezi, he cherishes his life too much. In the end, it seems like he's trapped and can't come out. Muyu tried hard to hold back his laughter. Can't come out? What a pity. Then I'm going to close the door. Hellion Kong puffed out his chest, looking like a person of virtue and prestige. Hellion Kong, the person under my wing hasn't come out yet. You're not allowed to close the door. Gue Yezi said angrily. He had to figure out what was going on. He had clearly given Gue Ziming pointers, but not only did Gue Ziming lose the Gue Yezi soul armament, Gue Ziming was also unable to see Gue Ziming. This wasn't the result he wanted. I'm not that kind of unreasonable person. I'll wait for 2 hours. If he doesn't come out in 2 hours, then I don't want to wait any longer. You know how tiring it is to maintain the gate of the Sea Demon King's palace. I'm old. I can't wait any longer. Hellion Kong thumped his waist. Muyu still had many questions to ask Hellion Kong, but because there were so many people here, he didn't plan to ask them now. Because he had to wait for another 2 hours, he simply took Gue Yezi's skull and sat under it like a stool. Gue Yezi's face twitched again. He was so angry that his whole body trembled. He wanted nothing more than to charge over and kill Muyu. Senior, if all of you are gathered here, then what about the Bone Warriors fighting every day? Don't we have to fight the Bone Warriors with the Yao clan these few days? Muyu asked curiously. He remembered that he had been in the Sea Demon King's palace for about 3 days. Muyu had stayed in the land of opportunity for a longer time, mainly to comprehend the power of nature. He hadn't been here for 3 days, but the Bone Warriors still had to continue fighting. Every time the Bone Warriors fought, one of the 4 leaders had to come and hold the fort. Now that all 4 human leaders were here, Muyu had just come out, and the people from the Gate of Hell didn't look like they wanted to fight at all. Then, who should go up for the Bone Warriors fight? Hellion Kong shook his head. The Yao clan has stopped fighting with us these few days. They came over yesterday to negotiate terms with us. Negotiate terms? Chapter 645. The Yao clan also wanted to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. Muyu was not surprised by this. The Sea Demon King was sealed in the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. The Yao clan had come here to find the Sea Demon King and rescue him. They obviously knew that the method to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda was in the hands of the humans. Last time, Hellion Kong had said that he would negotiate with the Yao clan after Muyu obtained enlightened Xian Jizi's inheritance. He did not expect the Yao clan to negotiate with him first. You agree? Muyu asked. If we don't agree to their request, we can't get close to the Yao ceiling pagoda. Helian Kong shrugged. Since they agreed, it naturally saved them some trouble. Otherwise, according to Helian Kong's estimation, they would have to fight 3 battles a day and win more than 80 years to win back the Yao ceiling pagoda's territory. That would be crazy. Since everyone's goal was to enter the Yao ceiling pagoda, it was normal for them to work together. Oh, right, I haven't asked you yet. Did you obtain enlightened Xian Jizi's inheritance? Helian Kong asked in a low voice. Muyu explained the situation briefly. The problem now was that he had obtained the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal, but he did not know how to use it. The method to use it had been found out by Gue Shiming. So, Muyu and Gue Shiming each had half of the initiative. That kind of thing can't trap Gue Shiming. He definitely has a way to get out, Muyu said. Is that so? Then it looks like we have to wait for him to come out, Helian Kong said with some regret. Helian Kong said with a bit of regret. He had originally hoped that Gue cherishing life would be trapped inside so that he could extinguish Gue Yuzi's light breeze and prevent Gue Yuzi from always being so full of himself. Senior, have you heard of the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal before? Muyu asked. I don't know much about the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal, but enlightened Xianjizi told me that the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal is a very dangerous thing, so he made a series of protective measures. Gue Shiming only obtained the Sky Pierce nebula. He also does not know how to use the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal. Only by combining the two things can it be considered as truly using it, Helian Kong explained. Muyu nodded. After that, he recalled that the Demon Island seemed to have issued an alarm. It should be Qiao Shui coming ashore. He was now worried about Qiao Shui's safety, so he asked Helian Kong about the situation. Indeed, someone else came. After you went in, another lady came to the island. She came ashore on our side. She's called Qiao Shui or something, Helian Kong said as he twirled his beard. Then where is she now? Muyu quickly asked. The people from the Gate of Hell said that the girl was a demon and wanted to kill her, but I saw that she was obviously a human, so I took the initiative to save her. In order to avoid suspicion, I sent a few souls to watch over her. Do you know her? Helian Kong asked. Yes, of course he knew him. She's my friend. Muyu rejoiced. Fortunately, Helian Kong, this senior, was sensible. Otherwise, with the methods of the people from the Gate of Hell, it would be very difficult for Qiao Shui to gain any benefits. I'll get someone to bring her over. Helian Kong waved his hand, and a middle-aged soul immediately understood and floated away. After a while, Qiao Shui was indeed brought over by 5 souls. Muyu, you're really here? Qiao Shui cried out in surprise. Muyu quickly ran over and pulled Qiao Shui's hand, asking, Are you okay? That bastard, Long Xingyan, didn't bring you to the Demon Island? Qiao Shui shook her head. I didn't see them. After I was trapped by the mare folk, I wanted to escape, but the mare folk kept chasing me. I don't know where they went. Later, Yu found a sea demon in the sea and asked it to bring us here. Many demon beasts in the sea don't know where the Demon Island is. Yu asked thousands of demon beasts and only found one that barely knew the way. Compared to Qiao Shui, Muyu was much luckier. Little Handsome had seduced a rank 7 demon beast, the Ink Demon Gorilla, and it just happened to know the way. All right, I forgot to introduce you. Muyu quickly introduced Qiao Shui to Helian Kong and conveniently concealed Qiao Shui's identity. But Gue Yeming sneered. This girl is a spy sent by the demon race. This brat is colluding with the demon race. You actually believe these 2 people? If I don't believe us, then do I believe you? You Japanese are full of lies, and you still have a nerve to slander me? Which I of yours saw me and the demon race together? Muyu scolded without holding back. A severed soul stage cultivator pointing at a transcending tribulation expert and cursing. There was probably no other person besides Muyu. In any case, the grudge had already been formed. The people from the Gate of Hell had been scheming to kill him. Cursing a few words now wasn't a big deal. Gue Yeming's expression was very cold. He really didn't have evidence to prove this point. With Helian Kong's temper, there was no way he could make Helian Kong believe him. Helian Kong mysteriously moved to Mu Yu's ear. Are you two dual cultivation partners? Yes, yes. That day, Mu Yu even said that he wanted to do shameful things with Xiao Shui. Little Shui raised his little paw and said, Don't talk nonsense. Xiao Shui's face turned red. Mu Yu was quite generous. Ah, yes. Senior, do you have any blessings for us? A greeting gift or anything is fine. I already gave my most precious thigh to you. Isn't this a greeting gift? Helian Kong laughed and then sighed. I see that this girl is young and has an extraordinary cultivation. She's very compatible with you. Not bad, not bad. Aya, it's so good to be young. I'm starting to miss my Shaoli. Back then, Shaoli was also. Helian Kong started to praise Shaoli, who he liked, nonstop. She was graceful and beautiful like a flower. He spoke for a whole hour. Clearly, this matter became a regret in Helian Kong's heart. Although Mu Yu wasn't very interested in this Shaoli, he still listened very politely. I confessed to Shaoli 18 times, but she rejected me 19 times. At that time, I didn't understand why such an outstanding alchemist like me couldn't obtain Xiao Li's heart. Mu Yu blinked. Wait, senior, you confessed 18 times and were rejected 19 times? Why don't I know how to calculate this? It's just that once, I was rejected before I even started to confess. Do you understand now? In the end, I asked Xiao Li why she didn't accept me. Xiao Li said that she didn't like men and only liked women. At that time, I felt like the sky had collapsed. Helian Kong's face was filled with sorrow. It was obviously a very sad love story, but for some reason, Mu Yu just wanted to laugh. However, when he saw Helian Kong's sad expression, Mu Yu couldn't bear to laugh out loud. He tried his best to hold it in, feeling like he was suffocating himself. Senior, it's everyone's freedom to like whoever they want. We can't force them. You must get over it. I think that an outstanding alchemist like Senior must have many women who have a crush on you. As long as you pay more attention, you'll be able to find them. Mu Yu comforted him in all seriousness. Sai, it's not like there aren't any who have a crush on me. There was a gentle and kind girl who liked me for a long time. See, I was right? What happened after that? That girl was called Ru Hua, but her appearance really let down passers-by. Her beard was even more hairy than my chest hair. Helian Kong shook his head sadly. Mu Yu burst out laughing. He felt that it was impolite, so he hurriedly coughed. He massaged his temples, smoothing out the breath that was laughing in his heart just now. He held Xiao Shui's hand tightly and sighed with emotion. Fortunately, the girl I like is more normal. Xiao Shui glared at Mu Yu, but didn't refute him. Right at this moment, the mirror at the entrance of the Sea Demon King's palace rippled again. Gue Piming walked out with a gloomy expression. He swept his gaze around and landed on Mu Yu. Not bad. I thought you wouldn't be able to come out. Mu Yu didn't shrink back at all. This little devil had deliberately schemed to kill him, but Mu Yu countered him several times. It was a pity that Mu Yu didn't have the ability to kill him. Otherwise, how could he let him walk out unscathed? Gue Yuzi whispered a few words to Gue Piming, his expression uncertain. After a long time, he said to Helian Kong, now that your people have the Sky Spill reincarnation seal, and my people have the Sky Spill nebula, we can only take a step forward and negotiate with the Yao race. Otherwise, no one will be able to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. Helian Kong pondered for a moment. Okay, let's go find the Yao race now and clarify this matter. Everyone began to move towards the demarcation line. Mu Yu also took Xiao Shui with him. Along the way, he told Xiao Shui about the current situation on the Demon Island. He also explained that he had just entered the Sea Demon King's palace. Mu Yu deliberately stayed at the back and said, by the way, you can't admit your relationship with them in front of the Yao race later. Otherwise, the people from the Gate of Hell will have a chance to cause trouble. Do you understand? The humans and the Yao race on this island are at daggers drawn. Xiao Shui nodded. Then her gaze shifted and she asked, did you just say you like me? Mu Yu was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled embarrassedly. That's just a slip of the tongue. So you don't like me? Xiao Shui frowned slightly. No, you're so beautiful. Everyone likes you. Mu Yu hurriedly explained. Then he said, "In order to avoid trouble, I'll put a formation on your face. At least, don't let Long Xingyun and the others recognize you." Xiao Shui hesitated for a moment before she agreed. Mu Yu's fingertips traced the formation runes and then gently brushed it across Xiao Shui's face. Xiao Shui's skin was so delicate that it could be broken by blowing on it. She was so adorable. Her facial features were so exquisite that it made his heart tremble slightly. He had never touched Xiao Shui's face before. Mu Yu was very happy. Xiao Shui's eyelashes were very long, and her big watery eyes seemed to contain a vast ocean. Mu Yu could even see his own reflection in Xiao Shui's eyes. However, Xiao Shui suddenly tiptoed and gently kissed Mu Yu on the lips. Mu Yu's brain suddenly short-circuited for a moment. A warm current flowed from his lips to his whole body, making his heart involuntarily beat. That kind of wonderful feeling was endless. It was as if 100 flowers were blooming in the warm spring, making him dazed. "Is it really okay to do this kind of thing at this time?" Long Tongue muttered. Only then did Mu Yu come back to his senses. He then smiled awkwardly. The weather today is really good. I was molested by a girl on such a good day. My reputation is ruined just like that. Big sister Xiao Shui, I also want to kiss. I also want to kiss." Little Shui jumped around on Mu Yu's shoulder. "Little kid, go play at the side." Mu Yu grabbed little Shui's tail and threw it away. "You were the one who said that it was everyone's freedom to like someone. Therefore, whether you like me or not is your freedom. Whether I like you or not is also my freedom." Xiao Shui was very calm. She didn't feel awkward at all. She then turned her head and walked forward. "Ah, big sister Xiao Shui, then I also have the freedom to like you." Little Shui ran back and jumped into Xiao Shui's embrace. Then it rubbed its head against her soft body. "You don't have any freedom. Little Mo is still waiting for you outside the island." Long Tongue interjected. "Shut up." Little Shui shook its butt twice. Chapter 646. The souls of the human race and the demon race had already begun negotiating at the boundary. Mu Yu and Xiao Shui were standing at the back, while a large number of souls occupied the front. Naturally, Mu Yu wouldn't be the one to negotiate here. Hellion Kong and the others would be the ones to negotiate with the Yao spirits. Through the spirits, they could vaguely see the movements of the Yao spirits. The leader of the Yao spirits was Boss Lu. He was a living person, and it was said that he was older than everyone on the island, so he had the most right to speak. "Yesterday, you said you wanted to think about it. What do you think now?" Boss Lu asked in a low voice. Gue Yezi said, "All right, but I'm afraid we'll have to recalculate the number of people entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. 13 of us will enter, and only 7 of you will enter." "Impossible. Once you people from the gate of hell enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, you'll probably attack us. That Gue Yeming cannot enter." Boss Lu shook his head. Gue Yeming had the highest cultivation among the living. Once he entered the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, he could probably wipe out the Yao spirits with a single slap. Naturally, Boss Lu wouldn't budge. This was his bottom line. "Who we send in is our business. If you don't agree, you can wait until we take back the Yao Ceiling Pagoda's territory." Gue Yezi snorted. Although that was what he said, it would take time to take back the Yao Ceiling Pagoda's territory. If the Yao spirits refused to compromise, they'd have to fight a battle every day. It would take decades. However, Hellion Kong said, "I think he's right. Gue Yeming cannot enter." Hellion Kong glanced at Gue Yeming, then at Mu Yu and Xiao Shui. He said, "I have to ensure Mu Yu's safety. Hellion Kong, watch your words. We're representing the human race. Don't drag your selfish motives into this." Gue Yezi shouted. "Tui, don't try to pin a label on me. Don't you people from the Gate of Hell have any selfish motives for entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda? You people from the Gate of Hell have always wanted to kill Mu Yu. If Gue Yeming goes in, how long can Mu Yu live?" Hellion Kong was not careless at all. Gue Yuzi wanted to use the benefits between the demon race and the human race to pressure Hellion Kong. How could Hellion Kong let him have his way? Gue Yezi was furious. Gue Yiming entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda was naturally beneficial to his plans, but Helian Kong didn't give him the slightest chance. There was nothing he could do. Good. Ghost Knight Ming is not going in. Gue Yezi made a concession. He knew that it was meaningless for him to persist. Helian Kong would continue to hold on to this point. Not only Helian Kong, but Boss Lu of the demon race would also not compromise. In that case, we'll give up our territory in 3 days. I hope you won't regret it. Boss Lu said. The negotiations were simple. They'd already discussed the details the day before. It was basically about giving up their territory while opening the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. However, the negotiations just now had determined the number of people who could enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. 13 humans could enter, and only 12 people from the Gate of Hell could enter. If Gue Yiming couldn't go, then they could bring Qiao Shui along. Although Qiao Shui was on the side of the demon race, if Muyu went in now, he would have to deal with the threat of the people from the Gate of Hell. That was no laughing matter. If he went with Qiao Shui, Muyu would have a companion. The negotiations didn't last long. Everyone returned to prepare for the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. Gue Yezi shot a cold glance at Muyu, then left with his people. Clearly, if Gue Yiming couldn't enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, they would have to change their plans. Muyu also had many questions for Helian Kong. After returning, Muyu found a place far away from the people from the Gate of Hell. Then he asked Helian Kong, "Senior, do you know what soul transference is?" The people from the Gate of Hell enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda to find soul transference. Helian Kong asked in surprise, "Soul transference? That's the Gate of Hell's most precious treasure. It's a treasure that specializes in attacking souls. It's said that it has many other strange uses, but I've never seen any of them. That's strange. I've never heard of the people from the Gate of Hell losing their most precious treasure. What does the Gate of Hell's most precious treasure look like?" Muyu was very curious. How could they lose something as important as their most precious treasure? Would the people from the Gate of Hell be so careless? I've never seen it either. It's always been in the hands of the master of the Gate of Hell. But that's not right. Soul transference wasn't lost during the great battle with the Yao race 5,000 years ago. Although Gue Yezi's cultivation was very high at that time, soul transference definitely wasn't in his hands. This thing can't be in the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. What are they looking for in the Yao Ceiling Pagoda? Helian Kong asked in confusion. Muyu didn't understand either. If it was the treasure of the sect, then it could be explained why the people of the Ghost Gate were trying so hard to find it. However, why would the Yao Ceiling Pagoda help them find the soul returning home? Could it be that soul transference had some connection with the Yao Ceiling Pagoda? Since Helian Kong didn't see soul transference, then Muyu couldn't ask why. He continued, "Senior, what should I do after entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda? And you should at least know a little about the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, right? The Yao Ceiling Pagoda has a total of 99 floors. Back then, Taoist Master Shinjizi told me that after entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, if you want to release the Sea Yao, King Yujiang, you need to learn how to control the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. The Yao Ceiling Pagoda has a pagoda spirit. If you can obtain the pagoda spirit's approval, you can control the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. So you need to find the pagoda's spirit," Helian Kong said. "The pagoda spirit? Will it be on the last floor?" Muyu asked. "That's not certain. The pagoda's spirit can freely travel through every floor. If you're lucky, you might find it on the first floor. If you're unlucky, I don't know," Helian Kong said. This explanation was still very vague, but Muyu had a more important question. "Senior, can I bring your soul tool in this time?" Gue Yiming had brought over a dozen people from the Gate of Hell to the island, and a few of them were in the body integration stage. Without the protection of a soul tool, Muyu would have a hard time dealing with Gue Shiming. Even if he killed one of Gue Shiming's twins, it was only because of luck. If he was surrounded and beaten up by a few Japanese people in a corner in the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, it wouldn't be a fun thing. Of course you can. This time, my soul tool isn't used to open the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. You can bring it in to protect yourself. Oh, right. I'll also find a soul tool for your little lover. Helian Kong blinked his eyes considerately. Thank you, Senior. Muyu smiled. Helion Kong was really thoughtful. This time, Muyu would bring Helion Kong's soul tool in. This way, he would have an extra layer of protection when dealing with the people from the Gate of Hell. Even if he encountered a group fight with the Japanese people, Muyu wouldn't be afraid. Helion Kong explained to him many of the conclusions he had come to after studying the Yao Ceiling Pagoda for the past 5,000 years, including the fact that every floor of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda was composed of different scenes. Helion Kong told Muyu with certainty that the Yao Ceiling Pagoda was filled with strange formations, but Helion Kong wasn't very clear on which specific formations there were. I'm actually not very familiar with the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, because I've never entered it before. However, Guei Shiming seems to have entered it once when he was alive. He understands the situation inside. How about I think of a way to ask him? Helion Kong said. Forget it. Guei Shiming wouldn't be so kind. Muyu shook his head. That's true. Helion Kong knew Guei Shiming's character, so he gave up on this idea. In the end, he said earnestly, Muyu, you have to help us remove the restrictions of this place. Consider it as helping us escape. Is that all right? Muyu nodded seriously. They had been trapped on an island for 5,000 years without any freedom. They couldn't do anything, and they couldn't see a single living person. The area they could move about in was limited. In order to not let the area they could move about in decrease, they could only fight endlessly with the Yao race. Very few people could understand this kind of loneliness. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Muyu and Xiao Shui had both finished their preparations to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. The dividing line also began to be moved to the Yao race's side. This was because the dividing line had been set by the soul power of both humans and Yao race in the first place. It could only be moved on its own when both sides agreed to it. During the process of moving, the Yao race kept a watchful eye on them. After all, they had won this area in the first place. Now, they were only temporarily retreating for the sake of the Sea Yao King. In order to ensure that the dividing line would be moved back to its original position after they left the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, the Yao race had even recorded the distance. The Yao Ceiling Pagoda could only be seen at night. It couldn't be seen during the day. Thus, everyone waited until the third night before they all gathered at the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. Xiao Shui followed behind Muyu. Helion Kong insisted that she go in, and Guei Yezi didn't say anything. Xiao Shui also didn't reveal her identity in front of the Yao race to avoid unnecessary trouble. 7 Yao race members entered the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. Among them, there weren't many who could enter, including Long Xingyun, Long Yeli, Iwan Mao, Boss Lu, the Dragon Carp brothers, and the Dragon Turtle. This Yao Ceiling Pagoda was much more majestic than the exquisite Sand Eagle Pagoda they had seen in the Sand Eagle Royal City. It also had a mysterious and profound aura. It was enlightened Master Xian Jizi's magic treasure when he was alive, and the might it contained was quite powerful. The patterns carved on the pagoda were very intricate, and all kinds of inscriptions were carved on it. The entire pagoda emitted a green light. The power of the all laws returned to origin, formation, domain flowed around it. It was incomparably mysterious. Remember what I warned you. You don't need to interfere with anything. You just need to watch from the side. If you really can't do it, you can help, Guei Yezi suddenly said to Guei Shiming solemnly before he left. This sentence, which came out of nowhere, made Muyu feel strange. Was there anything that the people of the Gate of Hell couldn't interfere with? Originally, Muyu wanted to listen a little more, but Guei Shiming seemed to already know, so he didn't say anything. Muyu didn't know anything more, but he was even more curious about the purpose of the people of the Gate of Hell entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. They were looking for soul returning to the heart, and they didn't let Guei Shiming interfere. What would they find by just watching from the side? You two go to the Yao Ceiling Pagoda together, Helion Kong said. Muyu and Guei Shiming walked out together and stood in front of the door to the first floor of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. The door was gilded with vermilion red, and it was majestic. As they approached, they discovered that the entire pagoda exuded a vast aura. It was undoubtedly an ancient treasure. The Skyspill Reincarnation Seal and the Skyspill Nebula appeared in their hands, and the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal automatically floated towards the Skyspill Nebula. The center of the Skyspill Nebula was like a whirlpool, slowly flowing. Then, the whirlpool gradually turned into a ray of light, merging into the cave halfway up the mountain where the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal was. Then, the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal trembled slightly and automatically flew towards the Yao Ceiling Pagoda's door. A dazzling light flashed past, and the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal disappeared from the Yao Ceiling Pagoda's door. Then, the Yao Ceiling Pagoda's door slowly opened, revealing a vast white world inside. Muyu frowned slightly, because the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal had already disappeared after opening the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. He had been hoping to keep this thing. Guei Shiming, on the other hand, wasn't surprised at all. He only snorted slightly and took the lead to enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. The remaining members of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda were also unwilling to fall behind, and all of them rushed in. Muyu and Xiao Shui walked together and also stepped into the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. The remaining souls had been standing guard outside, and they couldn't enter the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. After entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, Muyu felt his body tremble slightly. The surrounding formation runes flashed by from time to time, and the white fog he had seen before had already disappeared. It was as if he had stepped into a curtain of water. When his eyes adjusted to the light, he was surprised to find that he seemed to have arrived at the top of a towering mountain. The surrounding members of the Gate of Hell seemed to have disappeared. Even Xiao Shui, who had clearly been standing behind him, had disappeared without a trace. The Yao Ceiling Pagoda seemed to have scattered everyone, and Muyu had no idea where he was. If this was a pagoda, the explanation would be completely different. Strictly speaking, this place was more like an independent illusory formation. However, because of the formation domain's illusory formation, Muyu couldn't directly break this formation, which made him feel a little regretful. Since every level is an illusory formation, doesn't that mean there are 99 illusory formations here? Which way should we go? Little Commander asked. Muyu looked at the mountain below his feet, and then looked at the scenery in the distance. He could directly fly in the air, so he flew to the foot of the mountain. However, when Muyu passed through the layers of clouds and arrived at the foot of the mountain, the scene in front of him made his pupils shrink. Corpses were everywhere, and blood flowed like a river. There were cultivators, Yao Ceiling Pagoda, and Yumon corpses. Thick smoke billowed, and the river water surged. The tree leaves had a strange red color, and the ground was cracked. There were ravines everywhere, and all kinds of magic treasures and iron swords were twisted together. The corpses were still dripping with blood, and the residual warmth was still there. It was as if a tragic battle had happened just 15 minutes ago. Muyu landed on the ground and looked at everything in front of him in confusion. He didn't understand why Taoist Master Xianjizi had set up such a terrifying illusory formation. Was he trying to warn the future generations about something? But at that moment, Muyu smelled a nauseating yet familiar rotting smell. He followed the smell and suddenly saw a puddle of yellow corpse water. Is this the Yellow Springs corpse water? Chapter 647. As far as the eye could see, corpse water could be seen all over the mountains, rivers, and plains. Not only was it yellow, but there were also green and blue liquids. It was extremely strange. What does this war mean? Muyu carefully skimmed over the corpses that had just died, paying close attention to the state of death of the humans. He thought that this war was supposed to be between the humans and the demons against Yaman. But upon closer inspection, he was shocked to find that things were not that simple. He checked the wounds on the cultivators, then the wounds on the demons and Yaman. He realized that the wounds on the corpses were not caused by the humans, demons, or Yaman. Instead, there was a corrosive smell. It was very similar to the corrosive power on Akatsuki's body when Muyu fought with Akatsuki in Mass Burial Valley. This was not a war between the three races of the cultivation world, but a war between the three races against another mysterious race. Since when did Yaman cooperate with the humans and demons? Is this war real or not? Don't the humans hate Yaman the most? Could it be that this was not the case in the past? Muyu was shocked. The scene here had overturned his imagination. What kind of existence was Akatsuki? Suddenly, the sound of an intense battle came from afar, causing the ground to tremble violently. Muyu looked in the direction of the sound in astonishment, only to discover a mountain range in the distance. Sword light overflowed in all directions, and the light of magic treasures shone with boundless radiance, accompanied by roars of anger. This sound was so familiar that Muyu frowned slightly. This was the voice of the White Ape Demon King. Muyu tapped the ground with the tip of his foot and flew towards the mountain in front of him. After passing through the mountain range, Muyu finally saw the center of the battlefield. The White Ape Demon King's body was several thousand feet tall. He had completely reverted to his original form. The muscles on his body were strong and muscular, as if they contained endless power. The white fur on his body proudly fluttered in the wind. He was unruly and unruly, exuding an aura of dominance. With a roar of anger, thunder rumbled, and even the clouds in the sky were shattered. The White Ape Demon King blasted out a punch. With one punch, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. The air seemed to have been torn apart. The mountain in front of him was also blasted into dust. A huge crater hundreds of meters deep appeared on the ground, and he was facing 7 flesh-winged horn monsters. These 7 flesh-winged horn monsters had different colors on their bodies: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and purple. There were all kinds of colors. Their auras were millions of times stronger than when Muyu first met Akatsuki. They couldn't be compared at all. The flesh-winged horn monsters in front of him were very large. They were about the same size as the White Ape Demon King. The horns on their chests were very strong, and the wings on their backs were extremely sharp. The various colors of corpse water on their bodies roared and turned into the fiercest attacks that blasted towards the White Ape Demon King. The White Ape Demon King's counterattack was simple and crude. With a punch, it destroyed everything. Even the sun in the sky was overshadowed. The punch compressed the air to the limit and suddenly exploded. It instantly blasted on the red, flesh-winged horn monster and directly penetrated it. You dare to come to my world? I'm the boss here. The white light on the White Ape Demon King's fist flashed again. The surging wind of the punch rolled out and instantly shattered the entire flesh-winged horn monster. His figure nimbly flashed and avoided the attack of another green, flesh-winged horn monster. His big hand grabbed again and directly grabbed the green, flesh-winged horn monster's wings. Then he tore it in half. Green blood splattered everywhere. The more the White Ape Demon King fought, the more valiant he became. He was not at a disadvantage, even though he was taking on 7 flesh-winged horn monsters alone. His aura violently impacted the surroundings. In just a moment, the originally arrogant and ugly flesh-winged horn monsters were all torn to shreds by the White Ape Demon King. F***CK, the old hairy monkey at his peak, is actually so scary. Muyu swallowed. He thought about how he had been pointing at the White Ape Demon King's nose and cursing. He was lucky that the White Ape Demon King didn't slap him to death. In front of the White Ape Demon King at this time, Muyu felt that he was really too small. Muyu glanced around. He didn't need to think to know that this must be the second layer of heaven. He had never understood how the second layer of heaven was destroyed. With such a terrible existence like the White Ape Demon King, who had such great power to destroy the 3 races of the second layer of heaven, leaving only the monsters behind? White Ape, you shouldn't have killed them. You have caused us a big trouble. A long sigh came from afar and reverberated in the sky. Then a figure appeared in front of the White Ape Demon King. This person was dressed in blue and looked calm. He seemed to be only in his 20s, but the aura contained in his body was like a mountain. Even though he was so small in front of the White Ape Demon King, in Muyu's view, he was not weaker than the White Ape Demon King. A hazy cloud floated around the blue-clothed person. This cloud seemed illusory, as if it would disperse when the wind blew, but it made Muyu feel a sense of familiarity. It's the phantom, that stupid phantom. Xiao Shuai suddenly pointed at the blue-clothed man's cloud and said, "This cloud is the phantom?" Muyu was surprised. When he was in the second layer of heaven, in order to obtain the netherworld grass, he was implanted with false memories by the phantom, which made him feel very confused. He didn't know what was real and what was fake. In the end, it was little Shuai's existence that cleared up Muyu's memories. The white ape demon king stared with his huge eyes and said in a deep voice, "Phantom Qingyu, you don't resist, but do you not allow us to resist?" Phantom Qingyu? This blue-clothed person was Phantom Qingyu. We are the protectors of this world, not participants. You have to understand this. Phantom Qingyu's voice was very calm, but it was filled with helplessness. You, Jining, Chun Feng, and the others are protectors, but I am not. If the Moon Clan wants us to act according to their requirements, I, Old Ape, will be the first to refuse. The White Ape Demon King said angrily. Phantom Qingyu glanced at the desolate land and shook his head. You are not prepared to fight against the Moon Clan. You have already lost. Even if I lose, I don't want to live with this humiliation. The White Ape Demon King's resolute aura was completely revealed. Phantom Qingyu was silent. After a long time, he spoke again. I have to seal you in order to protect you and not let them find you. The White Ape Demon King's expression changed slightly, and he shouted angrily, I don't need your protection. We are immortals, and no one can be harmed. For this world, for the continuation of our race, you have to live. As for them finding trouble with you, Jining, Chun Feng, and I can protect you. The seal will take away your aura. This process is very painful, but you have to bear the consequences of what you have done. I only hope that you can live. The seal is the best way to protect you. Phantom Qingyu sighed heavily. You want to seal me? I will not wait for death. The White Ape Demon King's aura became violent again. You're already heavily injured. You're no match for me. The seal can help you escape this calamity. In the future, when you break free from the seal, the Moon Clan will not find trouble with you. The phantom spirit beside Phantom Qingyu suddenly floated out, turning into a cloud that covered the sky and enveloped the White Ape Demon King. The White Ape Demon King furiously blasted out a fist, but his fist was completely absorbed as if it had hit cotton. Powerful runes rippled out from Phantom Rain's hands from time to time, wrapping around the White Ape Demon King. The White Ape Demon King struggled with all his might, but the surrounding clouds were like glue, restricting the White Ape Demon King's movements. Soon, the White Ape Demon King's massive body began to shrink. In the end, it became the same size as Phantom Rain, revealing its human form. Phantom Qingyu, do you plan to seal all 10 of us Demon Kings? The White Ape Demon King's aura was gradually covered by the formation runes, which formed a cage that trapped the White Ape Demon King inside. Phantom Qingyu did not answer the White Ape Demon King. Phantom Qingyu, remember this. I will definitely get back at you in the future. The White Ape Demon King suddenly opened his mouth, and a white nightingale flew out from his mouth, and then disappeared into the void. Phantom Qingyu did not stop him. She just helplessly shook her head, and then disappeared with the White Ape Demon King. After they left, the sky suddenly flashed with a dazzling brilliance, and the sky seemed to be torn apart. Then, a terrifying aura swept through the entire land. Destroy the 3 races of the second layer heaven. It was an ice-cold voice, so cold that it penetrated the bones, making people tremble in fear. Muyu watched all this from a distance. He heard about the unfamiliar Moon Clan, but he did not know what kind of existence they were. Even Phantom Qingyu was so afraid of them. The destruction of the second layer heaven seemed to be inseparable from the White Ape Demon King's killing of the 7 flesh-winged horn monsters. It was Akatsuki that he met back then. The world of cultivators is never that simple. Everything is a cage, and the Demon Clan wants to break free from it, but they are not prepared. The White Ape Demon King's resistance caused the destruction of the second layer heaven races, so the third layer heaven cannot repeat the White Ape Demon King's mistake. A vicissitude figure appeared beside Muyu. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking at the brilliance in the sky, and sighed softly. Senior Xianjizi, what kind of existence is the Moon Clan? Muyu asked, but Xianjizi did not answer Muyu. He did not seem to notice Muyu's existence at all. After a while, a formation rune appeared in Xianjizi's hand. The rune streaked across, and he took a step forward and disappeared. Is that a teleportation array? Muyu exclaimed. A teleportation array from thousands of years ago had actually been casually set up by Xianjizi. He took Xianjizi and disappeared from the second layer heaven. He went to the third layer heaven. Little Shuai, who was on Muyu's shoulder, kept staring at the brilliance in the distant sky. His eyes revealed a look of disgust. I heard the white-bearded old man talk about the Moon Clan, Little Shuai said. It is a powerful and ancient race, powerful enough to destroy the entire world. He alone could not stop them. Muyu's heart could not calm down for a long time. He suddenly thought of something. Why did the flesh-winged horned monster Akatsuki come to the third layer heaven this time? Chapter 648. The battle between the White Ape Demon King and the flesh-winged horned monsters deeply shocked Muyu, who was watching the battle. Although Muyu knew that it was all an illusion, it still seemed so real. The White Ape Demon King's imposing manner of looking down on the world had left an extremely deep impression on him. When the White Ape Demon King was freed, one punch from him was enough to destroy a mountain peak, let alone when he was at his peak. No wonder the White Ape Demon King became so serious when he heard Muyu talk about Akatsuki. He left without a care for anything and didn't even give an explanation. Now, it seemed that the White Ape Demon King also understood the consequences of Akatsuki's existence on the third heaven. Muyu looked around the battlefield. The whole world had come to a standstill after Taoist master Xianjizi left. Then it slowly began to flow backward. Time seemed to have returned to the moment when the three races of the second heaven joined forces to kill the Moon Clan. For the first time, the Human Clan, the Demon Clan, and the Yaman stood on the same front. They fought with all their might against the flesh-winged horn monsters. The flesh-winged horn monsters were quite powerful. From time to time, cultivators and demons would be pierced by the flesh-winged horn monsters' horns and cut in half by their sharp wings. After the flesh-winged horn monsters were killed, they didn't leave behind any corpses. Instead, they turned into puddles of corpse water of different colors, emitting a nauseating stench. That battle was very tragic. In the end, the White Ape Demon King led the three races to defeat the flesh-winged horn monsters. However, the White Ape Demon King's victory was temporary because there were even more powerful existences in the boundless firmament. Although Muyu didn't see what happened after, he could imagine how those powerful existences wiped out the three races of the second heaven, completely destroying their civilization. Muyu silently watched the battle from the side from beginning to end. He felt the consequences of the battle with a heavy heart and many questions in his mind. The destruction of the second layer heaven was due to the White Ape Demon King's desire to rebel against the powerful Moon Clan. However, why did the White Ape Demon King want to rebel against the Moon Clan? What did the Moon Clan do to the White Ape Demon King? Muyu had no idea. Everything seemed so confusing. Then, Muyu realized that he should look for the tower spirit. He carefully analyzed the illusion array. Although he could not control the illusion array here, he still found the exit. The exit was the terrifying ray of light that appeared in the vast sky. That terrifying ray of light had the power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Every inch it got closer seemed to indicate that something terrible was about to happen. It was as if in the next moment he would be crushed, his soul scattered, and his body and soul destroyed. Muyu knew that it was just an illusion. He suppressed the shock in his heart and finally stepped into the light in the sky. He felt as if he had jumped into water, and the air became sticky. Then he returned to a battlefield. The battlefield here was no longer the second layer heaven, but the desert forest that Muyu had been to before. The Sand Eagle Demon King stood on a ghost falcon, leading his demon clansmen to confront the human self-cultivators. The yellow sand gently fluttered, constantly swirling and emitting a sharp, whistling sound. And the one facing the Sand Eagle Demon King was Reverend Xian Jizi. You should not have assisted the White Ape Demon King. Your demon clansman's decision has also put the third layer heaven in danger. Reverend Xian Jizi's expression was solemn, but his eyes revealed a trace of helplessness. The Sand Eagle Demon King silently looked at Reverend Xian Jizi. His aura was steady, but it carried a kind of freedom. It was as if he was a sand eagle that was about to break free from his cage and was willing to rely on his own hot blood to fight against the vast sky. He would not hesitate even if the dusk was stained with blood. Resistance was the joint decision of the 10 Demon Kings. For freedom and truth, we will die without regrets. The Sand Eagle Demon King's body was like a javelin. His aura soared to the sky, as if he wanted to compete with the heavens. The freedom and truth that you desire will disrupt the order of the world. It will also push the third layer heaven into a state of eternal damnation. Reverend Xian Jizi raised his voice. In that instant, it was as if he had become the spokesperson of the entire world, so resolute and awe-inspiring. If you humans are with us, we will negotiate with Yamon. There is still hope for resistance. The Sand Eagle Demon King said resentfully. The 3 races of the second layer heaven have already been exterminated because of their alliance. Haven't we learned our lesson? Reverend Xian Jizi retorted sternly. A bolt of purple lightning once again streaked across the vast blue dome of heaven. It was so insufferably arrogant, as if announcing the end of the world. That heart-palpitating power was far greater than that of Reverend Xian Jizi and the Sand Eagle Demon King. Both of them looked up at the sky at the same time, but a sword light streaked across, as if it had traveled through the boundless space-time. It carried with it a domineering aura. Tens of thousands of feet of sword chi rose from ground. The boundless and powerful sword chi instantly covered the entire purple light. Reverend Xian Jizi and the Sand Eagle Demon King glanced at each other. Their figures rose from the ground, disappearing into the tens of thousands of feet of sword chi. That sword chi was so familiar that it caused Mu Yu's body to tremble. His white robes fluttered in the wind, and he seemed to have transcended the mortal world. His gentle and refined aura was as reliable as a mountain. It was as if as long as this person was present, there would be no more danger in the world. Back then, Jianing Chunfeng was still young, but his gaze was so deep. It was as if he could see through the hearts of people and see through the vicissitudes of the world. Master! Mu Yu silently looked at Jianing Chunfeng, his heart filled with longing. Jianing Chun used to be a peerless genius, but now he had fallen into the trap of the third layer palace. His whereabouts were unknown. Jianing Chunfeng stood with his hands behind his back. He looked at Reverend Xian Jizi and the Sand Eagle Demon King. His expression was very calm. There was no anger or fury. Only a complicated expression was mixed within his indifference. Greetings, my lord. Reverend Xian Jizi bowed respectfully. The Sand Eagle Demon King didn't move. He just stared at Jianing Chunfeng. Jianing Chunfeng, I always thought you were just a tribulation passing stage cultivator. I didn't expect you to have hidden yourself so deeply. Even I can't tell what kind of person you are. Jianing Chunfeng smiled slightly. He looked at the distant purple light. It's not just you. I'm afraid even the human race doesn't know what kind of person I am. To be honest, sometimes even I question myself. Who am I? My lord, you must be joking. You just don't want to be burdened by the name of the world. Reverend Xian Jizi's expression was filled with reverence. Jianing Chunfeng shook his head. I originally didn't want to interfere with this world, but I also don't want to see it destroyed. Sand Eagle Demon King, you are also a person with eternal life. You must live on. You can't die at the hands of the Moon Clan. The only thing that can help you escape death is a seal. The Sand Eagle Demon King's expression didn't change. He seemed to have expected this result. "Where do you want to seal me?" "To a place where no one can find you." Jianing Chun Feng casually waved his hand. Powerful sword chi flowed in the air, transforming into runes that instantly enveloped the Sand Eagle Demon King. The Sand Eagle Demon King wanted to resist, but the aura completely suppressed him. He couldn't even use his strength to resist. "You're clearly so powerful. Why don't you resist the Moon Clan?" The Sand Eagle Demon King roared angrily. "I'm just a passing traveler in this world. I see this world constantly moving forward. I can prevent evil from invading the third firmament." "That's enough." Jian Ingchun Feng sighed. His eyes were like resplendent stars. He stood at the end of the world, familiarizing himself with the laws of the world. Muyu slowly walked to his master's side. The aura of "I rule the world" made Muyu want to worship him. "Master." Muyu wanted to touch him, but his hand passed through the figure. Jianing Chun Feng protected the world, but he couldn't protect himself. However, Muyu still didn't understand. His master clearly had the ability to rule the world. He could easily seal the Demon King. The 5 Demon Master Yumeng weren't his match at all. Why would he sacrifice himself to set up the immortal confining prison? If he wanted to destroy Yumon, it would be more than enough. Why did he believe in the third firmament palace in the end? What exactly happened during this time? Muyu increasingly felt that the matter at the Moyun mountain range wasn't as simple as it seemed on the surface. Jianing Chun Feng flipped his hand, and a strange golden seal appeared in the air. It was the heavenly reincarnation seal. "My lord, this is..." Perfected Xianjizi was extremely shocked. "This is a very dangerous item. It's dangerous and powerful. Take this and seal the Sea Demon King. Remember, don't kill the Sea Demon King. The Demon King must be born in the future." Jianing Chun Feng handed the heavenly reincarnation seal to Perfected Xianjizi. "The Demon King must be born?" Perfected Xianjizi silently muttered this sentence. He took the heavenly reincarnation seal and turned to leave. However, he stopped and said, "My lord, your cultivation is heaven-defying, and you have done so much for the human race. Why are you not willing to stand up and admit all of this? Why did you choose to play dead? Back then, the Silhouette being sent so many assassins to assassinate you. You could have just destroyed the Silhouette being, couldn't you? I don't want to participate in the disputes of this world. Many things are not as simple as you think. Go." Jian Ingchun Feng's eyes revealed a trace of loneliness. The sword in his hand split into 9, and then gradually transformed into the figure of Xiao Shuai. Xiao Shuai jumped onto his shoulder and squinted his eyes in satisfaction. Muyu's eyes widened. He turned his head to look at Xiao Shuai on his shoulder and found that Xiao Shuai was also looking at his other self in confusion. "Sword Spirit, we have interfered with this world. Do you think we did the right thing?" Jianing Chun Feng stroked the Sword Spirit's white hair with a trace of helplessness in his eyes. "I don't know. Anyway, the food in this world is very delicious. I quite like to eat it," the Sword Spirit in Jian Ingchun Feng's hand said heartlessly. "Yes. Once we are involved, it will be very difficult to stand by and do nothing." Jian Ingchun Feng gradually disappeared with the sealed Sand Eagle Demon King. Xiao Shuai, who was on Muyu's shoulder, blinked his eyes and looked at himself leaving. He wagged his tail and said, "Why can't I remember these things? So my name is Sword Spirit. What a terrible name. It's not as good as Xiao Shuai." Muyu smiled. It turned out that the relationship between Little Shuai and Master was so close. But what happened that caused Little Shuai to become a strange egg again and become muddle-headed? He also stroked Xiao Shuai's white hair and suddenly had an unprecedented sense of closeness to Xiao Shuai. Xiao Shuai was so important to his master, but his master left Xiao Shuai to Muyu. Thinking that he was quite rude to Xiao Shuai every time, he felt a little guilty. "Muyu, let's hurry and find Big Sister Xiao Shui. I want Big Sister Xiao Shui to hug me," Xiao Shui said with a face full of anticipation. Muyu's guilty feelings toward Xiao Shui suddenly disappeared. This guy's image of a good child in his heart could not be maintained for more than a few minutes. He scolded. What hug? Only I can hug Xiao Shui. Me too. You carry Xiao Mo. Chapter 649. This time, Muyu was transported to a space filled with rows and rows of candles. The candlelight flickered, swaying left and right. The candles didn't have bases. They all floated in the air, layer by layer. He couldn't see the top, nor could he see his surroundings. As far as the eye could see, all he could see were the burning candles. What is this place? Muyu looked around. He tried to fly upwards for a while, but even after a quarter of an hour, he couldn't see any exit. He was still surrounded by countless candles. Muyu believed that these candles were some kind of array formation. The floating candles were arranged in a very orderly manner, but when he tried to think about it carefully, he was confused. He couldn't see anything at all. It didn't seem like a formation. What did you just see? At that moment, specks of yellow light floated out from the candlelight. Gradually, they formed enlightened Master Xianjizi's image around Muyu. He appeared in front of Muyu. Enlightened Master Xianjizi looked deeply at Muyu. His eyes shone with a strange light. What memory is it this time? Having experienced so many battles, Muyu wasn't too surprised by enlightened Master Xianjizi's sudden appearance. He was already mentally prepared to deal with any unexpected situations. At the same time, he looked around to see who enlightened Master Xianjizi was talking to. It's just you and me here, isn't it? Said enlightened Master Xianjizi. Muyu's mouth fell open. He thought the enlightened Master Xianjizi in front of him was just an image. Now it seemed that this was enlightened Master Xianjizi's remaining consciousness. He hurriedly bowed and said, Senior, I saw how the Sand Eagle Demon King and the White Ape Demon King were sealed. Can the others who entered the Yao Ceiling Pagoda see these images too? Enlightened Master Xianjizi smiled and said, Others can't see it. I'm the one who showed it to you. You've seen Akatsuki before, and your Lord Sword Shadow, Dust Wind's disciple. You have his sword spirit by your side, and you're also the leader of the Formation Glyph School. That's why I think you need to know more about the past. Muyu nodded thoughtfully, but there were still many things he did not understand. What kind of existence is the Moon Clan? Why do they want to destroy the second heaven? What is the White Ape Demon King resisting? Taoist Master Xianjizi stretched out his hand and lightly swiped across the air. A few candles flew over and revolved around his fingertips. The Moon Clan is not something from this world. This involves the secrets of the second heaven and the third heaven. Of course, there are also connections to other worlds. I don't know what the Moon Clan is because they are too powerful. The Akatsuki you saw was only one of their soldiers. I'm afraid only your master knows about this. But Master has been framed by a scoundrel, and he will soon. Muyu clenched his teeth and briefly explained the matter of the threefold palace and the immortal confining prison. Taoist Master Xianjizi was silent for a long time, then said, I didn't know that the current palace lord of the threefold palace would do such a thing. The threefold palace was originally responsible for the survival of the human race. In my time, the threefold palace did not rely on soul power. According to Taoist Master Xianjizi's description, 5,000 years ago, the threefold palace was still on the side of justice. He just did not understand why it had changed now. The human heart is the most difficult thing in the world to understand. 1,000 years is enough to change the sea into mulberry fields. Righteousness can also become evil. Taoist Master Xianjizi sighed. Senior, please point me in the right direction. How can I find the threefold palace? Muyu asked earnestly. The threefold palace is at the entrance of reincarnation. They are responsible for guarding all the dead humans so that they can safely enter reincarnation and be reborn. They are equivalent to the emissaries of souls. Taoist Master Xianjizi said. How can I find the entrance to reincarnation? Muyu was slightly shocked. Even his master, Jian Ing Chun Feng, had said that reincarnation was an extremely mysterious power. Back then, the 5 spirit lords Yu Meng had been sent into reincarnation by him, attaching themselves to the bodies of Mu Yu and the others. who should have died prematurely. The threefold palace guarded the entrance to reincarnation. It was no wonder that they could obtain the power of any dead person on the threefold continent. You can find it by following the soul, Taoist master Xian Jizi said softly. Muyu clenched his fists. There are two extremely powerful formations placed on your body. One of them is a protection given to you at the cost of one's life. The blood shield obscures the heavens, allowing you to avoid the power of reincarnation. The other is an extremely complicated sealing formation. Even I'm unable to undo it. Taoist master Xian Jizi frowned. Muyu thought of Taoist master Xian Jizi's domain of formations. He hurriedly asked, "Senior, is there any ability that can heal the soul?" He showed the soul anchor formation on the jade pendant to Taoist master Xian Jizi. Within it, the wound on Deadwood Daddy's chest was still ghastly. Taoist master Xian Jizi stared at the soul anchor formation in shock. Who invented this formation? Muyu sighed. The person inside the formation. Taoist master Xian Jizi's eyes revealed a trace of amazement. This formation is incredible. It's far more powerful than the soul-controlling techniques used by the people of the Gate of Hell. It has many unique uses. This is the first time I've seen them. Senior, are you able to save him? He's extremely important to me. Muyu bowed again. Taoist master Xian Jizi thought for a moment, then said, "To heal the soul, you'll have to do what the people of the Gate of Hell do and extract the souls of others to heal yourself. Otherwise, you'll have to use an extremely powerful magic treasure. The most precious treasure of the people of the Gate of Hell, soul transference." Soul transference? Muyu was extremely shocked. This was because the people of the Gate of Hell were also looking for this item. Senior, do you have a magic treasure called soul transference? Muyu recalled that Gue Han had entered the Yao Ceiling Pagoda to search for this item. Didn't that mean soul transference had fallen into Taoist master Xian Jizi's hands? However, Taoist master Xian Jizi shook his head. That belongs to the people of the Gate of Hell. I don't have it. Muyu looked at Taoist master Xian Jizi in confusion. If Taoist master Xian Jizi said he didn't have it, then what was Gue Han looking for? The people of the Gate of Hell came here to search for soul transference, but they seem to have lost it. Muyu told Taoist master Xian Jizi what he'd heard that day. Taoist master Xian Jizi's expression slowly turned serious. I understand. It seems they're planning to return to the past to search for soul transference. Return to the past? That's possible? Muyu's eyes widened. Taoist master Xian Jizi nodded. One of the abilities of the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal is to return to the past. What? Muyu's jaw dropped. He'd been holding the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal this morning. Originally, he didn't know how to use it, but he didn't expect it to have such a heaven-defying ability. He suddenly thought of something. If he used the Sky Pierce reincarnation seal to return to the moment when his master had set up the immortal confining prison, all he had to do was go back and tell his master that he couldn't trust the three-layered palace. Then his master wouldn't have lost his cultivation, and there wouldn't have been so much trouble. Deadwood Daddy wouldn't have been in trouble. With his master's cultivation, he could have prevented everything that happened today. Wasn't that perfect? Changing the past is very dangerous. Taoist master Xian Jizi continued, his expression solemn. Dangerous? Muyu didn't understand. Everything in this world moves forward. Once something in the past is changed, then everything else is likely to change. You can't predict what will happen in another timeline. Even the person who went back to change time will die. That way, the past won't be changed. Thus, the past can't be changed. It can only be seen, Taoist master Xian Jizi said. Can't be changed? Muyu thought for a long time and quickly understood. It was like if he went back to the past and accidentally killed his newborn self. Then he wouldn't have grown up and he wouldn't have come here. He wouldn't have been able to go back to the past, so he wouldn't have been able to kill himself. This was a paradox. Thus, to a certain extent, time couldn't be changed. Muyu remembered what Gui Yezi had said to Gui Pei Ming before entering the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. You don't need to interfere with anything. You just need to watch from the sidelines. So that was what Gui Yezi meant back then. When Gui Laochi was in the Sea Demon King's palace, he was tricked by Mu Yu into revealing the truth. It seemed that the soul returned to the heart had been stolen by someone. Perhaps even the people of Hell's Gate did not know who this person was. Gui Laochi cherished his life and wanted to return to the past to investigate this person's true identity. Presumably, the people from the Gate of Hell also knew that the past couldn't be changed. That was why Gui Yezi had told Gui Pei Ming not to waste his energy trying to change anything. He just needed to find out who had stolen their sect's most precious treasure, soul conversion. In short, this involves a very difficult phenomenon to explain. Even if you go back to the past, you won't be able to change anything. You won't be able to leave a trace in the past, but you can see what happened in the past from a bystander's point of view and change the future, Taoist Master Xianjizi said. I can't change the past, but I can change the future? That's really strange, Mu Yu said. What Taoist Master Xianjizi said about changing the future was easy to explain. For example, if a person was killed and the killer's methods were clean and tidy, there was no way to find the killer. The killer continued to kill, and many more people would die. But if after the killer killed a person, someone went back to the past and saw the killer's appearance, then they could come back and catch the killer. That way, no one else would die at the killer's hands, and the people who were killed would live. Their survival was equivalent to changing the future. However, the future was something that hadn't happened in the first place. No one could say for sure how seeing the past would change the future. All they could say was that going back to the past would make the future even more unstable. This was because going back to the past and discovering dusty truths could change many people's decisions. Sometimes it could lead things to the point of no return. The people from the Gate of Hell should be able to find the floor where the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal is. The Skyspill Reincarnation Seal can be opened in the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. If the people from the Gate of Hell want to know where soul conversion is, this treasure might change many things. You should do your best to stop them from going back to the past. Taoist Master Xianjizi said. Me? Stop them? Senior, can't you stop them yourself? Mu Yu asked. Taoist Master Xianjizi shook his head. I'm just a remnant of my consciousness. I don't have the power to do anything, and I can't leave this place. I can only show you a few things, but I can't stop what happens next. Senior, can you tell me which floor the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal is on? Mu Yu asked. When he used the Skyspill Reincarnation Seal to open the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, it had disappeared. He had no idea where it had gone. Mu Yu and the others had been randomly teleported away. He couldn't see where the others were. The Skyspill Reincarnation Seal is on the 81st floor. You're currently on the 27th floor. You'll have to go there yourself. There's not much I can do, and my consciousness is about to disappear. Taoist Master Xianjizi's figure slowly faded away, leaving only his voice echoing in the candlelight. If your Lord Sword Shadow Dust Wind's disciple, then you should shoulder the responsibility of protecting this world. I won't just hand the Yao Ceiling Pagoda over to you. If you want to control the Yao Ceiling Pagoda, you'll have to rely on your own strength. If you can't do that, then you can't talk about protecting the third heaven. Mu Yu shouted. Then where's the exit to this floor? Chapter 650. Little Commander, you knew about the Heavenly Reincarnation Seal back then. What do you think of this matter? Mu Yu asked. I don't know. This old man is actually right. Many times, a careless decision can change the future. It can even lead to the destruction of the world, Little Commander said. Then, Little Commander suddenly changed to a low and hoarse voice. If many truths are destined to be hidden, then they shouldn't be known by others. Dragonvine interrupted. Little Rat, why are you such a charlatan? That last sentence doesn't sound like your line. Little Commander puffed out his chest. Can't I become more literary? Dragonvine curled his lips. You must have learned Jian Ing Chun Feng's words. However, I still don't understand. Why can't the past be changed? We can be careful and avoid killing people. Are you stupid? Let me give you an example. For example, if I went back in time and accidentally threw a huge rock in the middle of the road, causing a mortal granny to trip. At that moment, a pregnant lady happened to walk by and help the granny up. In the end, the granny insisted that the lady had knocked her down and started to extort money. The lady had no evidence that the granny tripped herself. Then, the government ordered the lady to pay 100 taels. The lady couldn't afford it and hung herself in anger. This pregnant lady originally wouldn't have died. Her 81st descendant was originally Muyu's mother. However, because the lady died and the child in her stomach was gone, Muyu's mother also ceased to exist. This way, Muyu also ceased to exist. Then, no one saved you, big earthworm, and you were refined into medicine. Why are you still talking nonsense with me? Muyu rolled his eyes and resisted the urge to smack him. Little commander, are you courting death? Do you have to use me as an example? Dragonvine nodded thoughtfully. I understand. You really have a bad hand. You threw a rock randomly and ended up destroying Muyu. F***CK. Is that the main point? I just listed a series of catastrophic events that a rock could cause. I could also have farted in the past and caused the climate of the third heaven to warm up, destroying the ecological balance of plants like you, Dragonvine. If you can't live for 10,000 years, you don't have to appear here. How could such a thing be predicted? Therefore, the rule of the heavenly Tao is that the past cannot be changed. Otherwise, many things will contradict themselves. Little Commander scolded. Although Little Shuai was a little muddle-headed, he still understood a lot of things. All right, let's hurry up and think of a way to get out of here. Muyu sat down cross-legged and began to ponder Adept Xian Jizi's words. The direction of the heart was the exit. Muyu slowly calmed himself down. He looked at the sky, full of candlelight, and quickly understood how to get out. The flickering candlelight flickered in his heart, and then gradually transformed into 2 large doors. At the door, there was a little hansom hanging upside down, drooling, picking its nose, and scratching its butt. This was the exit that Muyu had imagined, and he could transform the exit into anything he wanted. However, the words 27 were written on the door, indicating that this was the 27th floor of the Yao Ceiling Pagoda. This was something Muyu could not change. Muyu, why are you making fun of me? Little Shuai shouted in dissatisfaction. I'm not making fun of you. You're usually like this. Muyu laughed, and then led Little Shuai and Long Tongue toward the door. He didn't know which floor the door led to, but Muyu guessed that the door on the left would lead up and the door on the right would lead down. If he really went in the wrong direction, he could just go back again. If he wanted to go to the 81st floor, he had to go up. This time, he really stepped onto a floor that looked decent. At least he could see the 20-meter-tall ceiling. It was a little too high, and he could see the windows around him. But before he could steady himself, a cold voice came from the side. Enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. Last time, you were lucky enough to escape. Let's see where you're going this time. Long Xingyan also appeared on this floor. This tower has a total of 99 floors. I can't believe I'm running into you here. Muyu looked at Long Xingyan with disgust. Seeing a bastard makes me feel bad again. Long Ting also stood on Muyu's shoulder with a look of disgust. Long Xingyan's face twisted. Long Tongue's words hurt his self-esteem, but the real dragon's bloodline was right in front of him. As long as he could catch Long Tongue, extract Long Tongue's bloodline, and merge it with his body, he would become the successor of the Azure Dragon Dynasty. Just thinking about it made him crazy. You're dead today, Long Xingyan said fiercely. Oh my god, the bad guy's opening line is the same. So annoying. Don't you know that Long Yeli was beaten to a pulp by me? If you want to die, then come over. If you don't want to die, then get out of my way. I don't have time to play house with you. Muyu saw the stairs on the other side of the tower. It was the passage to the next floor. Long Xingyan laughed coldly. Yeli lost to you because he was careless. By the way, let me tell you something. My true strength is much stronger than his. Long Xingyan yelled, and his aura skyrocketed. A powerful green dragon scale appeared in his hand, and he stuck it on his forehead. The green dragon scale seemed to contain an enormous amount of spiritual energy. It instantly raised Long Xingyun's cultivation to a whole new level. Long Xingyun, who was originally at the severed soul stage, had reached the body integration stage. Isn't that the scale on the big earthworm? Little Marshall asked curiously. Long Tongue was shocked. The scale has the same aura as me, but it's stronger than me. Of course it's stronger than you. This is the dragon scale vital energy that my grandfather gave to me. My grandfather is a real dragon. I am his descendant. I'm the most qualified to inherit his position, not an outsider like you. Long Xingyun's aura surged. The dragon scale seemed to have injected endless dragon clan vital energy into him. It made his aura extremely powerful. It really overshadowed Long Yeli's aura. It seemed like the Green Dragon Monster King valued Long Xingyun, who had 90% true dragon bloodline. Otherwise, he wouldn't have given Long Xingyun a dragon scale that contained his own Jinyuan. Such a precious item was quite rare in the dragon race. Long Xingyun wouldn't have been willing to use it under normal circumstances. Once his vital energy was used up, it would be gone. If it weren't for the fact that he wanted to capture Long Tongue and absorb her bloodline to become a real dragon, he wouldn't have taken it out. Muyu had to be careful. Long Xingyun had used the dragon scale vital energy from the Green Dragon Monster King to increase his cultivation by so much. He was probably as strong as Gue, Cherishing Life. When Muyu was fighting Gue, Cherishing Life, he used his cultivation technique to restrain Gue, Cherishing Life. However, when it came to Long Xingyun, he didn't have any advantage. Looks like I have no choice. I can only find a way to skin him and pull out his tendons. Muyu grabbed He Liankong's soul weapon. His powerful soul power instantly enveloped him and raised his aura to the form synthesis stage. As he spoke, Long Xingyun's hands turned into dragon claws and pounced at Muyu. Muyu's array runes appeared from his hands and covered his body. The shadow swords flew out from the ripples in the void. Sword chi shot out in all directions and met Long Xingyun's black dragon claws. The shadow swords and the dragon claws clashed with each other. A terrifying aura swept out and hit the walls of the demon ceiling pagoda. However, the demon ceiling pagoda was intact. This kind of treasure was not something that a form synthesis stage cultivator could destroy. Muyu could feel the powerful energy from Long Xingyun. He couldn't help but admire the Green Dragon Monster King. A small piece of dragon scale could increase Long Xingyun's strength by so much. It was really amazing. Long Xingyun's claws were like fine iron. They could even tear the air apart. He was very fast and reached for Muyu's throat. Many members of the demon clan were best at close combat. After all, their bodies were demon beasts. Their physiques were incomparably strong, several levels higher than humans. Therefore, close combat was their favorite way of fighting. However, Muyu's close combat was not weak either. After all, he was a swordsman. He dodged a claw and kicked Long Xingyun's knee. He turned around and went behind Long Xingyun. He stabbed Long Xingyun's shoulder. Long Xingyun sneered. He didn't even try to defend himself. He just let Muyu stab him. Just as Muyu's sword was about to hit Long Xingyun's body flashed with a green light. The dragon scale on his forehead moved to his shoulder. The scale on his shoulder blocked Muyu's shadow swords. Long Xingyun took the opportunity to grab Muyu's leg. Muyu turned his leg in the air and kicked Long Xingyun's face. However, Long Xingyun's dragon scale flashed again and blocked Muyu's kick. Muyu felt like he had kicked a steel plate. A huge force came from his leg. To make matters worse, Long Xingyun grabbed Muyu's leg with his right claw. A strong tearing force spread all over Muyu's leg. A powerful dragon essence entered Muyu's body. Damn, this guy is not bad. Muyu's meridians were violently impacted by the strange dragon essence. Even though his meridians were tyrannical, several of them were still broken. If it weren't for the black and white spirit chi that quickly poured out to dissolve the dragon essence, perhaps he would have been seriously injured. The dragon essence didn't come from Long Xingyun. It came from the Green Dragon Monster King's dragon scale. It was just a piece of green dragon monster king's dragon scale, but it already had such terrifying power. Die! Long Xingyun sneered. His left claw was already swinging down. Muyu's foot was grabbed, and he couldn't move. His hand immediately formed a green formation. Wind flower grafting tree formation. A black formation vortex appeared under Long Xingyun's left dragon claw. At this moment, Long Xingyun's claw had already landed on the black vortex. At the same time, a white vortex appeared above Long Xingyun's right hand. A powerful claw force came out of the white vortex and returned all of Long Xingyun's claw force to himself. The green dragon scale appeared on Long Xingyun's right hand again and blocked his attack. However, the powerful dragon essence still knocked his hand away from Muyu. Muyu finally broke free and quickly put some distance between him and Long Xingyun. Good one, kid. You really are something. Long Xingyun waved his hand arrogantly and crushed the two rune vortexes created by Muyu. Then, he charged at Muyu again. With the green dragon monster king's dragon scale, Long Xingyun didn't need to worry about defense. He only needed to attack. No matter where Muyu hit him, the dragon scale would block the attack for him. Muyu couldn't just attack and not defend like Long Xingyun. Damn it, this guy is just a fox pretending to be a tiger. Long Tongue said in disdain. Say, Long Tongue, his dragon scale is so powerful. When will you give me one? I can fight as fearlessly as him. To be honest, Muyu is quite envious of Long Tongue. Okay, I'll give you a few more when I grow up. Long Tongue was very generous. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.